Good morning on this draw 4 at the 2018 New Brunswick Scotties Tournaments of Hearts from Curl Moncton. We are featuring the matchup of Team Sarah Mallais versus Team Samantha Crook. Here, my name is Jeremy Mallais, and I'm here with the legend himself, Arnold Mallais. So we've got a father-son duo today. So.
I think it's a first for us.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe the last.
All right, well, Jeremy, we're going to start off by thanking some of our major sponsors. Kruger, of course, has been involved in the Scotties now for somewheres of 37 years. So that's quite outstanding. And then we have some local sponsors that we'd like to recognize as well. Bobley Productions, Kevin R. William, Sun Life Financial, Deloitte, Uni, Shoppers Drug Mart, Atlantic Superstore, TD, Kirkwood Diamond, and KKP.
Lots of great sponsors, so always helpful for an event like this. And so far, so good. Other than the little snowstorm we had on Wednesday night, we've been right on schedule, and the ice has been great, and the curling's been great as well. So we see that Samantha Crook has the hammer in the first end by virtue of the last shot draw. I believe she hit about the 4-foot, and Leah hit the 12-foot for Team Mallais. So I guess we're getting started with a bit of an open end, as we typically see, and we're seeing that on all three sheets so far, is to keep it clean, make sure that everybody's comfortable with the ice and has a feel for what's out there.
Yeah, and that seems to be what transpires. Jane just nicely got that off the rings. Now Crook she's asking to come back into the house, so because typically with last rock she could be setting up her corner guards, correct?
She could, yeah, and you might see that at more of a Scotties level at the national event, where you've got a little bit less forgiveness. But here, typically teams like to shrink down the game a little bit, make the game a little bit shorter, and if it comes into a bit more of an 8-end game, then that's okay. So keeping it open seems to be the trend right now for all of these teams.
And that speaks to the fact that these are 10-end games. There'll be a 5 or 10 minute break at the 5th end. The ice will be cleaned and the hacks pebbled, and then we go on our way.
So we've got 38 minutes each team, and that's thinking time. So that's time. It's not like it used to be when your time started once you throw. As soon as you throw, it actually stops. So and each team has a 290-second timeouts as well.
Yes, and judging with, we have timers up here for all three sheets, as well as a statistician and a live score person to communicate things to you at home. I don't think anyone's really run into trouble, Jeremy, with the time.
No, it's pretty. I mean, the thinking time is really meant to not be as much of a factor as what it was when you had to worry about changing up your strategy because of the time. So now, as long as the team's on the same page and nothing's too complicated, you won't see a whole lot of issues. So
we have a miss there from Crooks. I believe it's their
second.
Yeah, just a little too much weight, perhaps.
Yeah, it seems to. Chris has got some great curl when you throw that nice down weight, but as soon as you increase that weight to probably what we would consider like a 9-second takeout, hog to hog, so a normal up, it runs very, very straight. So you need to be a little bit aware of that and make sure that weight control seems to be the biggest factor for all of these teams.
And the Chris that you're referring to, of course, is the Curl New Brunswick ice technician, the provincial ice technician, Chris Tapley. He's here with some local volunteers preparing the ice, and from all indications so far, haven't heard nothing but good things about the ice. Came up a little short on that one.
Yeah, she was looking to split the rings, and it could actually come into Samantha's advantage here by the end of the end. We'll have to see how that goes. So looking to redeem herself on this throw here.
They're not laying a brush to it, but it seems to be finishing up quite nicely.
Yeah.
So we'll keep a watch out on that side. And again, Sarah's not providing a whole lot of ice, so this will be the first of Carol's.
Carol's first, yeah. Carol Whitaker's first.
As you mentioned, Jeremy, with the storm, we canceled the opening ceremonies and then made the decision to not play the 7 o'clock draw the night before last. Just the players, I think, would have been keen, but asking our volunteers to come in through that storm, just we didn't think it was right. And a function like this, we've got 11 people on our host committee, and then there's probably another 25 or 30 volunteers, timers, scorekeepers, the people in the lounge, and it's a great involvement of Crow Moncton members.
Yeah, and the nice part about this event in the structure is that it does allow time. So there will be another game this afternoon for everyone who's watching at 2:30. And that'll feature Robichaux and Armstrong. So the current schedule does allow for tiebreaker slots, actually 2 of them if necessary. So there is time, and if there's a tiebreaker, it will be tonight as well. And if there's 2 tiebreakers, it'll be tonight and tomorrow morning, with the semifinal at tomorrow afternoon, and then the finals tomorrow evening. But we're hoping that the 2 tiebreaker scenario, well, I say we're hoping, but it's not necessarily going to happen, but it looks like there's a good chance for at least a tiebreaker for sure today. So there could be a game tonight, which is great. More curling, more people through the door, and it's been great to watch so far.
Yeah, we've currently we have a 4-way tie for first place at 2-1, and then one Crook is at 1-2, and Tadlock remains winless at this point. So things could change, certainly. And Ben Smith is the draw master for the province, and he has done a great job. A 6-team event isn't that difficult, I suppose, but on the other hand, we're only playing on 3 sheets, and Ben did a good job of ensuring that no back-to-back games were played. So kudos to Ben.
Yeah, Sarah's got a little out-turn hit here on the wing. This is a new path, so I have a feeling she might be throwing this a little bit on the heavier side and making sure that she doesn't catch any unexpected curl. And she'd love to stick around, but the goal is really make sure that it goes away and make Samantha make something around that corner guard. So
does she have full view of that?
Yeah, it is wide open. Yeah.
Okay. As you say, this is the first time we've been out in this area of the ice. So the first of Sarah's skip stones here in the first end. The girls are getting down on it. And we might be making contact with the front.
I think we are, yep. So there you go. Just new. She's lucky to tap it into the 8-foot, so makes Samantha have to hit it. But again, I think that was just a bit of a new path, and when there's new path, you might catch a little bit more pebble and it curls a little bit more. So.
And I don't think perhaps Sarah had the weight that you were thinking that she might.
No, but they didn't panic out of her hand,
no.
So I think it just the curl kind of surprised them, whereas the in-turn seems to be running a little bit straighter on the other side, where we saw Molly Ward throw it just past the rock.
So the 2018 New Brunswick Scotties Tournament of Hearts is being held here at Crow Moncton, put on by Curl New Brunswick and TV1. We always appreciate TV1's contribution. We're actually live streaming on sheets 7 and 9, and we will for the remainder of the tournament.
This one's curling really hard. Again, I think she was probably surprised by the fact that it seems to be a little bit straighter outside the 4-foot line. So,
and Jeremy, we saw that on the broadcast, via the other broadcast that I did with Darren Allen as well. It
Same idea.
Really moves inside the 4-foots.
Yeah. So Sarah's giving just a little bit more ice. And I mean, I think had that rock not been there, she would have probably hit and stuck around. So goal right now is to just hit and stick anywhere in the rings and force Crook to 201. That back one did stay in the rings.
It is in the rings,
yeah. It's just a biter. So okay. Changes up it's funny how things can change so quickly. So
we noticed that in yesterday's game as well. Advantage Robichaux for most of the game, and Sarah made some key draws to get the win. Do you think she'll increase her weight here a little bit, or?
It looks about the same, and they're sweeping it the whole way. I think they're going to be able to hold it, but not by much. So it's a great sweep by Jane and Leah on that one to keep it in the house, and mission accomplished. So you'll see Samantha hit this in the first end. they always say you don't want to necessarily hit against multiple rocks, but in the first end, the ice is still a little bit fresh. Make sure you get rid of one. Giving up a steal of one here, if ever she did hit and roll out, it's not the end of the world. But it is just a nose hit for the single point in the first end.
And this is a tricky area in the sense that if your weight is down, we could see some movement. So objective to take here one at the very least. Certainly not to give two. So the last
She's
draw,
throwing a bit more weight here for sure than her first one.
and they're just brushing it to keep it clean.
Yeah, lots of rotation. It looks like a great throw. So either you give more ice and throw the same weight, or you throw the same more weight with the same ice. So
Right.
mission accomplished for both teams. Crook would probably be happy with a 1. Obviously, you're always hoping for a deuce, but first end, just everybody's getting their feet under them. Single points are always good.
So 1-0 Crook over Mallais here at the end of the first end, and we have games of Como and Robichaud taking place on sheet 7, Tatlock and Armstrong on sheet 8, and we'll update you on those scores as they become known to us.
Yeah, it looks like Robichaud just took 1 against Como on a blank attempt. So that game is 1-0 for Robichaud over Como. And again, that game is 2-1 teams with Justine Como having beaten Crook and Tatlock and losing to Jennifer Armstrong last night in a great game that we were televising here on 5 TV1 as well. And then Sylvie beat Tatlock, lost to Sarah Mallais, and then she beat Samantha Crook last night as well. So 4 teams at 2-1 makes it very, very interesting. Oftentimes after 3 draws, you'll get at least one team that's 3-0. So look, Jane's is over curling here a little bit as well. I think she might still have a piece, but great sweep for the girls.
I was making the comment earlier yesterday too, Jeremy, that this is sweeper's ice too. They can certainly hold it pretty well as well.
Yeah, if you throw it well and you throw the right weight, good things are going to happen regardless of kind of if it curls a little bit more than you expected. The key is really just keeping that weight consistent and that weight within line with what you expected. So we do have a result on sheet 8. Tatlock took 1 against Armstrong. So funny how we started the broadcast saying that we were playing 3 wide open ends and there were no blanks to be had. So I think there were blank attempts on maybe sheet 8 and 7, but unsuccessfully. So it's not always an easy shot as a skip on curly ice unless you can throw the real high hard one to navigate the curl and worry about making sure you hit enough of the rock to hit it out. So I think all teams are happy to make sure they score in the first end and not giving up any steals.
So we've got Jane Boyle. Jane's been curling for 32 years. She's a member at she lives in Sussex, and she's a member at TSA from St. John. And she's been to numerous mixed provincials.
And she's part champion of the Jane or the Boyle royalty family. So a little shout out to her parents, who I'm sure would love to be here. Not very often we don't see Jack and but they are obviously I'm sure watching. So I told her I'd give a little shout out to them. But obviously there's lots in the family that are curlers, and with the Marines, her nephew's going to the juniors here in I guess next week probably.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah,
they won the under 21. Yeah. And that's the thing. We are live streaming, but there's also we do have a viewing set up here in the Curl Moncton Lounge, and tickets are $5 for the game, $10 for the day, and $20 for the event, which still gets you the remaining round robin, which will complete at 2:30, and then potential tiebreakers and semifinal and final rounds.
Yeah, we'll have a good idea after this draw as to whether there is going to be whether the potential tiebreakers are going to be there. Based on the fact that it's such an even field, I will assume that there will be at least one this evening. So, but things can change.
And Leah hit and rolled out. That was a new part of the ice as well,
Exactly,
Jeremy. This
yeah.
is
bit of a learning still. I mean, both teams have played here. Samantha played her first game on sheet 9, and Sarah played her second game on sheet 9. So both of those games, one was Wednesday night and one was Thursday morning. So things can change a little bit, or sorry, Thursday and Friday, but I think they're still just making sure that they have a good feel for the ice and not trying to be too precise with their shots, and making sure that goal number one is getting rid of the rocks when they're trying to hit, and sticking in the house when they're trying to draw. So. And
they were saying it was nice and keen too, so it's been consistent that way as well.
Yeah, from hog to hog, it's been about 14.5 to T-line without a whole lot of sweeping. So. Talked to Chris on that this week as well, and he said his problem's never getting speed on his ice. It's typically dealing with rocks that aren't quite as user friendly, I guess, responsive as he might like. But with the new rocks that Crow-Moncton has, there hasn't been one issue, and I haven't heard anything from any teams really talking of bad rocks or rocks that they're having trouble with. So just a great event to have now, and it makes a big difference when you're playing with rocks that react very similar to what you're going to see at a Scotties or a Briar, to get that feel for it. So
the liveliness, huh?
Absolutely, kudos to Crow-Moncton on that. And when we won and went to the Briar, we played at the Function in the Junction, and so we had rocks. I don't remember where they're from. I think they might have been from the Manitoba Curling Association, and they reacted exactly like what we experienced at the Briar, and the ice was phenomenal in the arena. So we felt like we were as prepared as we possibly could have been, and I think the teams leaving here today are going to feel very, very similar with the reaction of the ice and the speed and how well it's holding up to. It actually might be holding up a little bit better than what they might see when they get out there. So.
Yes, I was talking to Chris this morning, saying with the colder temperatures outside, he says the cold really gets into the building, but so far it hasn't been an effect. The other thing that I know that they did do earlier this week, there was at least 2 floods, plus they. I'm going to use the word textured instead of sanding the rocks, and that is actually turning the rocks over and sanding the riding surface. So that gives you your curl that you've been talking about.
Carol looks like she's going to nose hit this one or roll a little bit to the outside, just like they asked. So good throw there by Carol. And Carol and Sarah and Lee and Jane have been playing together now for 2 years, with Jane coming onto the team last year as an addition, and Team Crook, who lost in the junior final this year, actually won the junior final last year, so they lost this year to Como. So this team's been together as well for a period of time. So some good experience, some good chemistry out there today, and I don't expect to see a whole lot of head scratching or head shaking too much.
Jeremy, we've asked the teams to provide us with bios or information on their performances over the years, and I got to tell you, pretty well, of the 6 teams, I would say 90% of them probably came up through the junior ranks, and just a multiple of provincial national championships of all these ladies on the ice.
We saw our first Seemed Like It pick there. It was... They weren't worried about it, weren't sweeping it too much, and then all of a sudden it moved sideways. She was lucky to have just spun right out.
We were talking about the liveliness of, she hardly touched that, and that went out of the house. So.
That was great sweeping by Sarah. I'll give her that.
I'll tell you so.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have the first of Crook's skips rocks here on the second end. Sarah Mallais having hammer.
So I won't put my foot in my mouth and say that it's looking like a blank, because we haven't seen any of those yet today. But lots of half shots or 3/4 shots so far. So I think you'll see in the third end they might start getting at least one team a little bit more aggressive and maybe throwing up a guard and trying to play a few come around softer shots. So
right now of course they'd like to have that above the T line, correct?
Yeah, but I don't think there's any threat that Team Mallais will freeze, just with the way this is going. At this point, I think Sarah's happy with a blank, and I don't think you'll see any reservation as to putting the broom down for anything other than that.
So on Carol's, was it? I guess we weren't. I didn't notice whether she had started that a little
No,
bit?
it was good the whole way down, and right about just before the hog line, it seems like it jumped, and Sarah and Carol both kind of jumped on it. So sometimes it could just be a little flat spot, it could be a little piece of debris, or it could just be curl that they haven't seen before. But I don't expect, compared to what Sarah's throwing here, I don't think it'll curl nearly the same as what Carol's did. So
Okay, and everyone has their specific delivery style, right? So
yeah.
So the first of Sarah Mallais skipstones here in the second end, having hammer. They're brushing that all the way down, Jeremy. It's
yeah, I think it's just to make sure it doesn't.
Well.
It's one of those with how much the ice is curling. It's one of the ones situations where if you're on the rock and where you want to be, just stay sweeping on it. There's no point in getting off it, because as soon as you do, it could jump one way or the other. So, again, not to be too precise or too cute with it. Just you've got it, stay on it, and it's not going to affect the rock enough to alter the shot in a bad way.
So the last of the round robins, this is a six-team event, so everyone plays each other, so there's 5 games in the round robin. The last of those games will happen this afternoon at 2:30, at which time they will visit the win-loss percentages to see where we go with the tiebreakers. If there are no tiebreakers, the semifinal takes place at 9 o'clock tomorrow, with the final scheduled for 2.
Hit and stay there by Samantha, so she's mission accomplished on that.
It's always good changing that shot around now too, right? Had she hit and stuck right there, Sarah would have just come down, and this is a little different. Just
new
change
path.
it up.
And again, Sarah's not taking much ice, so I think she's being a little conservative, making sure that objective number 1 is to hit it, and objective number 2 is to roll out. So I'm actually a little bit surprised by she's got the her broom right about the middle of the rock. So
they may know something here that
absolutely
we'll see that it may stay just a little straighter that side of the 4-foot line. So here we go, the last rock of the second end.
That's a good throw.
Good release. And actually, if anything, Jer, it's I think it might be coming out on the.
Yeah, it looks like it's running nice.
Yeah. And with the liveliness, that should.
There you go.
There we
just
go.
Came up just a hair.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that was probably minimum ice that she could have given, and I think obviously not what they wanted, but
they were perhaps seeing something there that wasn't there, right? They hadn't played. This is the first coming home, so. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it was just more of a conservative brooming than anything else.
So after 2 ends, we're tied, Crook, Mallais at 1 apiece. And you'll notice we have some junior curlers. We've had them all through the week, which is great, to come and help out with the putting the score up. And it's not just the ladies, but these competitive curlers in general don't fancy, for some reason, putting up the score right after the end. And so the juniors have been a great help, and it helps our live score person as well, because we really don't know until that score goes up what has taken place. The viewing up here is good, but it's we await the call on the ice. So on the other sheets right now, we have, let's see, we've got Tatlock over Armstrong. They're just finishing, they're down to Skips Rocks here in the second end. And in the Robichaud Como game, they're in the Skips Rocks in the second end. Como having hammer. Robichaud leading that 1-0.
So it looks like we've got our guards that we had talked about. So maybe a little bit more of an aggressive end coming this way, and to be expected. The teams are a little bit more comfortable with the ice now, and they're willing to take that a few more risks. Sweepers haven't touched this one. It might be a little bit on the heavy side. I think it needs to sit just a little bit, but You can see with that shot, for example, the great curl that we're getting. That's almost half open on the other side. So
game on, huh?
Yep.
So the attempt here is to
sit right on the front. They wouldn't be disappointed if they were top four. Once you get a rock behind the tee line, it's obviously impossible to bring it back up, bring it forward. So Jane would have liked hers ahead of the tee line, obviously, so that she can use it a little bit more. Now that it's back there, it's only helping the other team potentially. So
she had her broom pretty well on the 8 foot there. That's finishing.
Yeah, and it's one of those.
Heavy.
So Crook's lead and Sarah's second, I guess. Leah, they are both lefties, so the rock does react a little bit differently. Their in turn is our out turn, so it's the rocks react differently. So you need to be aware of that a little bit as a skip, and not necessarily follow what the other team's doing just because. You got to remember that. Luckily for Sarah, Leah's following a lefty, so it's a bit easier for her to read, I think.
So Leah Thomas has been curling for 18 years, and they're going to get it by the guard.
Yeah, and probably roll out. So that's not bad. It moves it out of from behind the backing, and makes Samantha deal with it a little bit. And Justine Como just had a great double for two against Sylvie Robichaud to take the lead 2-1.
To 1-1, yeah. So we were talking about they're starting to clean house here, Jeremy.
Yeah, she's peeling. So they obviously have a game plan in mind. You could easily hit the one that's in the house or come around yourself. So their goal is just to not play that type of a game this end, at least. So it all depends on strategy and what you decided at the start of the game, and they're obviously staying true to that. So
not sure if I don't think that top one on the center line is counting, is it?
No, it's not. No,
okay.
No, because you probably would have seen Crook hit it on the first shot of the game or the end. So one of those situations where that's the easiest way to tell is based on the fact they were peeling on this one. It probably would have been a good sign that they would have been hitting it for sure. Yeah, so Leah is a bit of a hog when it comes to both mixed and mixed doubles titles. She's got 3 mixed New Brunswick mixed championships and 2 mixed doubles. So playing with Charlie Sullivan, of course, she's playing third for Charlie in the four-person mixed team, and then playing mixed doubles with him as well. And they've had some great success at the national level. I think 2 years in a row they finished 4th, so they've made it to the championship round and then right through to the semifinals. So they'll be looking to make it to the next step here in the next year or so. But some great curling coming out of that team.
And the mixed double trials for the Olympics, first time ever for the Olympics, the mixed doubles are taking place at Portage la Prairie as we speak.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm going to look it up here before I'm incorrect, but we had Sweeting and Gushu into the Page, I guess, 1-2 game versus Caitlin Laws and John Morris. So it's funny, we looked at trying to see if there's any kind of what we call maybe no-name curlers, but nobody made it to the championship round. So it's a bit of a sign as to how good those players are in the ice that they play on consistently, and kind of the next level that they are. And actually, I think there's only one team that doesn't have an Olympian on it. Other than that, everybody's been there at least once. So you've got left in the event is Jones and Nichols. So Jennifer Jones and Mark Nichols, Chelsea Carey and Colin Hodgson, Peterman and Gallant, and Officer and Carruthers. So again, lots of Olympic experience there in Nichols and Officer. Gushu, of course, and Laws and Morris, their entire team. So some great curling expected, and I think we are most definitely not the favorites when it comes to mixed doubles at the Olympics. So I think having a player or two that have already been there to the Olympics without the kind of the shock and the awe of what the event is would probably be a great thing for Canada, because we're traditionally, we actually had to win our way last year with Carruthers and Joanne Courtney. They had to medal, I think, last year at the Mixed Worlds in order for us to qualify for the Olympics. So it's very much a European event more so than a Canadian event, which the 4 teams seems to be. We've won back-to-back golds now, so bit of a different experience for Canada for sure.
I watched a bit of it after I left here last night, and it's quite a concept where you preset each team presets a stone, and you're only throwing 5 rocks, and it's really different. It's you're sweeping your own stone and that you just throw, and
yeah, the great thing about it from a curling club perspective as well now is that we're starting kind of some mixed double leagues that are happening at the curling clubs, and the reason is, I mean, it's only an hour and a half game rather than the 2 hours plus that you'll see. And it's a bit more interactive. You don't need to have quite as many people to have games going, so it allows for clubs to maybe have a Friday night mixed doubles where you might only have 10 people, but that's actually 5 full sheets. So you're getting a little bit, or I guess 20 people would be 5. So yeah, so you're getting a little bit more interaction. You're getting some more people out there, which is great to see, and it's a fun game. Sarah and I have talked about playing, and then we realized that we'd like to stay married and stay happy, so we've decided to avoid it. So, but who knows?
I've not tried it myself. So Sarah now, with her first rock of the third end, is just going to the open side to lie 2 and put the force onto Crook. Very similar to the first end in this case, where there was just a Crook was trying to peel guards and left one of Sarah's in the house, and therefore Sarah took the opportunity to split the rings, and she's done so now for a few rocks. So if she can get this one in a good spot and avoid leaving a double, she's looking good for the force. Girls are on it right away, and one of the best ways to find out if you've got the right weight or not is to see how much it's curling. So the more it curls, the further distance it's going sideways rather than lengthwise. So if it runs straight, so that one only curled probably 3 or 4 feet. Yeah, it really finished hard once it hit
at the
ring,
end. So
yep.
If it curls earlier, you're probably not getting that in the ring. So that's a great way to kind of have an idea as a thrower to whether you need to start panicking or whether you think you're going to be okay. And you've heard a lot out here saying, it's not curling yet, there it goes kind of thing. So that's conversation that throwers and ice readers are letting the sweepers know to say, is the weight coming off of it or not? So
that's we talked about that yesterday as well in the broadcast, that communication, in my mind, you get the lead sweeper indicating that it's heavy or light, or it's great for the person in the house, typically the skip or the mate, to get that information.
And we're not seeing too many one sweepers. That's now a thing at the quite a bit at the national level. And here's a double attempt. Maybe they might be going just over the top, touches it, and just spins out.
Do you think they were playing that?
No, I think there was a bit of an audible to say it's curling hard. Let's try for it. And
okay.
It's one of those hard ones where you're caught right in between, but it doesn't look like it's in based on the overhead. And even if it was, I don't think it changes Sarah's approach to throw another one just like she did, because hitting that is not obvious either with the corner guard there. So regardless, the status quo for Sarah, and if it is in, you might see Crook try for a double, but I wouldn't be surprised if she just took her one here and left.
So repeat shot for Sarah here.
Yeah.
So the last of Sarah Mallais' rocks here in the third end without hammer. She would like to lie 2. They're on and off this one a little more, and it seems to be staying to that 4-foot line.
Yeah, very similar line. I think you might see a little bit harder, same finish, but.
So the idea is to make Samantha come after that rock.
Yeah.
She certainly wouldn't draw it into.
No, and there's no double now, so it'll just be a nose hit for one, and Team Mallais happy, and Crook, based on the fact that they were peeling the corner guard, is probably not all that unhappy either. They were trying for a blank, obviously, but I think they seem to be a little bit more conservative in the fact that they didn't want to give up a steal. So, with this shot being made, they should both be fairly happy.
So to come out of the So to hit and stay is the objective here for Samantha. Her last rock or the last rock of the third in.
Sweepers
Lots of spin on that, Jeremy.
Yeah, lots of rotation, but that's a good thing on this curly ice. But her, I think she's got the right weight and a good throw here. But her rocks do seem to be wanting to curl a little bit more. So good throw there, and a 2-1 lead now for Crook going into the fourth end.
Once again, I'd like to remind everyone that our major sponsor, Kruger products, as well as Deloitte, Uni, Shoppers Drug Mart Atlantic Superstore, TD, Kirkwood Diamond Canada, KKP, Bob Lee Productions, and Kevin R. Williams, Sun Life Financial. We really appreciate their support, as well as TV One here doing the live streaming on sheet 7 and 9.
So the winner of this event will be going to Penticton, BC, for the Nationals, January 27th to February 4th. With the new format, I guess, for the first year, we've gotten rid of the relegation, and we're getting into pool play, which is very similar to what we're seeing now at the junior, senior, and the mixed level. But this will be a first for the Scotties and the Briar this year, and obviously mixed emotions as to the fact that teams won't be playing everybody. There will be a Team Canada on both sides, as there always is, Team Northern Ontario, and then you will also have the point leader in the CTRS points. So, throughout events, different events have different point scoring levels, and so you're going to have, I think it's one team out of that as well. So you'll have all 13 provinces, Team Canada, and then, I guess plus Northern Ontario, Team Canada, and then this point leader. So very, very different event this year. Good or bad, whatever it might be. It's exciting time to be at the event. So when we went to the Briar in 2015, it was the first year of relegation, and as much as the relegation wasn't what most teams from around here want, and obviously it wasn't loved by everybody, it still made for a different event where you kind of had a bit more buzz around it. There was some more talk about it. So this will be very, very similar to this event, and kind of you'll hear a lot more about what teams are thinking, how they reacted to it, what it felt like. So there's lots of new blood here who haven't been to a Scotties, so it could be brand new, or you could have a veteran team who's been there, and they'll experience the difference. So different eyes might see it differently, but it's going to be a great year to attend either the Scotties or the Briar for sure.
So Sarah's asking Jane to come into the 4-foot to counter the rock that was thrown by the Crook team.
And Jane, so far through 3 ends, is curling 83%, thanks to our master statistician here at Curl Moncton. So Team Crook is actually out curling Team Mallais 85-80. So very close, some great numbers just the same. And with the type of play that we've seen so far, it's not too much of a surprise. It's been pretty fairly wide open, so the shots have been relatively simple.
So that was kind of an option shot where Sarah's guard was just off the rings, and Jane didn't quite make it by, but she got the split, and Sarah's line 2 and 3.
Molly Ward now is asked to play the double, potentially hit and roll, but the sweepers are watching it the whole way.
She's going to be close.
I think she's going to come up and hit one maybe, but not both. Okay.
So that was that leaves the shot rock open for Leah Thompson, yes. And Sarah's, they're discussing the type of weight that, and that was something, as we said, communication is great. The skip needs to indicate what kind of, in order to give the proper broom, what kind of weight that the thrower should be throwing.
Yeah. The only reason I corrected you is I'm assuming Sean Thompson's probably home watching this, and he'll be on my case on Tuesday if I see him at the club. So
and Father Steve was here last night.
Steve here,
so,
Martha's here, so they won't be. Although I think Martha's listening. So
here we go.
Looks like it's coming up nice.
Yeah. Just on and off it, and sticks around. So just an update on the other sheets. We've got the Como Robichaud game 2-1 after, and they're in their third in, Como over Robichaud. And Armstrong took a 3 in the second in, is it?
Yeah, set 3. So it's 3-1 for Armstrong over Tatlock and 2-1 Como over Robichaud. So again, lots of implications. Every team, I think, is still in it, and every game matters without a doubt. So,
Jeremy, that looks like, obviously it was a miss, but I think she threw it out and was a little heavy.
it was the same
Bad
almost as that first end that we saw where she threw that in-turn going away, mind you, but it runs really straight, so obviously there might be a bit of an icing. She seems to be doing it consistently, so that might be the skip to take it upon herself to say, you know what, I need to give you a little bit less ice. You're throwing it the same. Very rarely do we throw it incorrectly. Oftentimes the skips, and I'm saying this and my team's probably laughing at me, but the skip needs to adjust sometimes to how you're throwing it rather than trying to change old habits. So.
Skips don't adjust.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're the placement here for Sarah, kind of important not to bunch them together.
Yeah,
but,
this is running really straight, but again, she seems to have a little bit extra weight, so you're not getting that same nice curl that we've been seeing. So she should chip off that and roll. Not exactly where they wanted, but it is a third one in the house. So I think you'll see Samantha play the double here in the back.
I guess they eliminate some stones would
Absolutely.
be the objective here.
Yeah, these back ones are not. They're not really helping Sarah. They're an opportunity for Samantha to get a rock frozen to it if she needs to at the end of the end. So, Team Mallais got to really focus on getting those rocks ahead of the tee line going forward. So Julia Hunter here is curling 92% so far in the first 3 ends. So she's had a great game, and
great
from what I've seen, nice shot, great double
takeout. Yeah.
And from what I've seen from the whole event, she's been a very, very solid player for them. And I believe she is a former mixed doubles champion as well.
So Kara Whitaker is being asked to probably the tee line would be the favorable position, not to set up a double. And Sarah's cut down the ice a little bit from what she had provided with Leah.
Yeah. And again, Carol's in turn will react very differently than Leah's out turn. So this one should catch a lot more curl, and you can already see that it's moving quite a bit more than what Leah's did.
And they're just keeping it clean. It looks like it might be a tad heavy, but we'll see how it finishes. No, she's not.
Yep.
T-line, great weight. And not really a potential for a double.
No, without risking of losing your shooter. So keeping it high like that is key in that situation. Wow. Okay, so it looks like Sylvie picked up a 4 in the third end. So 5-2 for Robichaud over Como. It looked like Como was in trouble almost right from the beginning of that end. They kept Sylvie kept sinking some around. So
this one seems to be moving early, Jeremy, too. The sweepers are really brushing it. But
chance at the double.
Wow.
Oh, just sticks around. So good sweep by the front end to keep that one straight. I think without them, they weren't going to be hitting any of it. So.
No, we've been noticing that the ice is responsive to the sweeping, so it's always. And
a funny thing here that you're noticing, you might be watching on TV, you notice the one sweeper, whereas here you're not seeing as much of that. So that's just something that teams either choose to implement or they choose not to. Some of the theory is that second sweeper is not making a big difference, save their energy, and in some cases, some people believe that they're actually counteracting what the closest to the rock, sweeper to the rock, is doing. So
you think at the national level
you will see a lot more of that at the Scotties for sure. But that ice is very different as well, where you're going to have a little bit even more reaction than what you're getting here. But I think on the men's side for sure, I think you're still going to see it, even just from a conservation of energy perspective. It's a long week, right? You're playing 7 now. I guess now it's 7 games in the preliminary round, and then if you're on to the championship round, it's another 6 games, I think. So you're really key is to keep that energy up and do it. So I think you'll see that at the national level this year for sure.
Okay, so the first of
Samantha Crook. That's fire. She's thrown a lot of weight there. That's the most we've seen all game, but it seems like it's running nice and straight, to clean the whole way down.
And with that kind of weight and the rotation, yeah, that's out. So Sarah's still building for her 2 points here. She's asking Carol to reduce that ice. Again, Sarah knows how she releases versus the other members of the team. So.
Yeah, and in this case, it's probably all about keeping in the same path and not looking into anything too new, making sure you're comfortable with the speed that you're going to be throwing.
So the first of Sarah's skips rocks here in the fourth end, excuse me, with hammer.
And Sarah's curling 83% so far, just above Crook so far. So. Now Crook's been looking at a few ends, so it makes it a bit more challenging.
Sure.
But
As to
Sarah's
an
had
open draw, yeah.
Exactly, she had some fairly simple shots. So,
but you certainly want to be up in the 80s.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they're just keeping this clean, and
so you might see Crook with that weight that she threw in the last one, trying the double, a double again, maybe reducing the ice and going for it because. In a lot of cases, you have to assume that they're not going to miss an open shot, so why not go for it?
As long as you get the one out,
exactly,
right?
Yeah, that's obviously the priority.
And if she were to make the double, then Sarah would have an option of trying to blank it.
And just an update, we have a steal of 1 by Armstrong over Tatlock for a 4-1 lead.
Shannon was trying a raise takeout, which just overcurled a little bit on her.
Just a little bit.
All right, so the last of Samantha's rocks here in the fourth end. They haven't laid a brush to it, Jeremy, and she seems to have maintained that weight.
Yeah. Will she stick around? She does, but not enough to impact the decision of Sarah. I think it'll be a similar draw here coming up. Now, I am a bit surprised she's taking that much more ice.
They increased, I just noticed that, they increased the ice.
What you typically see is maybe back to the draw to the button ice of going to the edge of the 8, and you're getting into that nice path on the outside. What happens is between the 4-foot lines in the middle of the ice, you're getting a lot more feet marks, you're getting a lot more rocks in that place.
Activity, yeah.
So by in the next few ends, you're going to start seeing that slowing down a little bit, where the outside is the nice, keen, fresh, what we call fresh path, I guess. So I still expect her to be close. She's had her draw weight all game, but just an interesting fact that you don't always see them switching over. So the girls are on it right away. But it does look good from up here.
It's in that fresh, as you said, the area that's been used for the so far in the 4 ends.
Yeah, so you didn't get that same curl that slowed it down. So it actually ran relatively straight, and maybe she knew that obviously better than we did. Yeah. So 2 there for Team Mallais for a 3-2 lead after 4.
And as you say, after the 5th end, there is a bit of a break. They chamois the ice and pebble the hack areas, and there's nothing like seeing this game live, folks. All 3 games take place at the same time, and we do have a viewing area in the Crow-Moncton Lounge here. It's nice and warm, and great curling.
Beer's cold, so I hear.
It's still early.
Yes, well, for some.
All right. So, I guess Sarah and Samantha are playing this game relatively quickly.
Their first 3 ends were pretty wide open, and I know for watching Sarah for years now, she doesn't like to diddle around too much, and I'm very similar with that. So. The team's on the same page. They all know what they need to do, so get in the hack and do it. I like that approach. It's a long enough of a week, long enough of a game that there's no need to be wasting any time.
So I didn't quite see Sarah. Did she ask Jane to go in? Or?
Funny enough, they've been curling together long enough, and they always have the meetings right after the end.
Yes.
So she didn't even give an indication of where she wanted it. So the team knew where it was, and based on the fact that it's the 5th end. They're going to try to force Crook here so that they can keep the hammer in the even ends. That would be the tight guard. It would be the call to try to put a little bit of pressure onto Crook.
So certainly well executed there from Jane.
So Crook has 2 options. If she wanted to try and make sure that she gets an opportunity at a blank, she could go to the wing here. but she's elected to come around, and this one looks like it's
This is
coming in
where we
really
get that
nice.
movement,
Yeah, that's moving a mile. So
Yep, that's the movement we've seen this week so far. Pretty well completely buried.
it's a great throw there by Kayla Russell, nice and high, and it forces Sarah to potentially play a run back, right? So
Now, typically she can hit her own stone, but in the 4-rock rule, the free guard zone, if that was the opponent's rock, you could not move that forward, right?
right. And next year we'll be seeing the 5-rock rule at the national level. So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve here for all of these teams and all of the teams throughout Canada who aren't playing at the elite levels where they've tested it out this year.
So Jane pretty well got that on her own.
Good throw by Jane, but again, Samantha's happy. She's now got a corner guard. So that throw by Kayla Russell is extremely good to keep that in front of the tee line, as good as it was. And it also is a great indication as to how much curl we're getting here at Curl Moncton this week. So she'll try to come around here as well and hopefully force Leah to throw that same run back.
And this is the turn where we see that great movement. If she's got the right weight.
Yeah. Sweepers aren't sweeping this one
No.
yet, but it looks like it's coming down a mile. Look at that turn. I don't know if that was natural or not, but that was another great throw by Kayla.
Yep. Exposed, however.
Yeah,
and,
it's about half open. So Sarah's going to call for a control weight hit. And, I mean, you're trying to stick your shooter, but the goal is really eliminate the blue right now. And
So just a reminder that the last of the round-robin matches will take place here at 2:30. Crook against Tatlock, Mallais against Como, and Robichaud against Armstrong. That'll be the last of the round-robin games. There were 5 of them. And then we'll see what the standings are after that to determine whether a tiebreaker is required at 7 o'clock. Should there not be a tiebreaker, then the semifinals will take place at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, with the finals at 2 o'clock here at Curl Moncton.
yeah, so a bit of a different year again with the switch that there's no semifinal on Saturday night. But that was decided by the host committee, and I think it was the right decision just to avoid the 3-game day when it's not necessary. So we used to always play 3 games on Thursday at these events when there were 8 teams, and we moved away from that and moved everything a little bit earlier just because it's exhausting and there's no benefit to it. Now at the national level you're only playing 2 games a day at a max, and even at that I think most days you're probably only playing 1. So you've got we're being a little bit more consistent with the national level and avoiding players feeling like they're not playing their best because they're a little overtired for no reason.
Now that one we didn't seem to get the finish that you'd expect, because that was T-line weight,
Yeah.
and yet it stayed out there. So Leah's being asked to take this one out, and again the brushers are just following it down.
And I don't think they want to roll behind the corner guard. It's not to benefit of them while it's still behind the tee line or at the tee line level. So nose hit is good. Samantha might try to get around, but there isn't a whole lot of air there, so it's a bit more of a risky shot.
It certainly is the way that we've seen movement here. So you get your hit, but then you roll out. So you're not any the better. Once again, these events don't take place without our volunteers, and I'd like to shout out to all that are on the committee and working behind the scenes. I know Greg Weston was doing a great job with our publicity as well, and there's been some nice articles in the newspaper.
Some local media outlets too. You had a few interviews this week, which is great to kind of get the message out.
Buzz
Local, right?
Buzz Local and the CBC. So it's great to get the word out about our event and have people interested in that. That's great.
So here's a bit of a decision for Team Mallais to make. Either they come around. They've got 3 options, I guess. You can peel the corner guard, come around the corner guard, or you can throw to the open side. So they've elected now to peel the corner guard. No wrong answer. It's whatever your team's philosophy is. It is their own color, mind you.
There was no way of splitting that on, Jerry?
maybe. I guess I don't know if that was really
now all
talked
you've
about.
done is replaced it, so
That was not the goal for sure.
No.
So they won't be very happy with that. And I think they should have probably taken a little bit more time there. They've got lots of time on the clock. They're a very quick team. So having a little powwow there to make sure that everybody's on the same page is probably not a bad thing to happen. So they'll probably talk about that at the fifth end and decide that maybe, you know what, just there's no need to rush it. It's a big decision right now. Julia's coming around, and if she makes a good one here, then they're going to be in some a bit of the weeds. So this one's curling a little bit earlier than we've seen and is flirting with that guard. So
that is the curl that we have seen on this ice, though.
yeah.
And has the blue one rolled in?
Nope.
I guess it doesn't matter. She's probably going to act on it anyway.
So again, it's a bit surprising that they're not having any type of discussion here as to whether they should maybe come around it. It's a center guard now, so it's a little bit more to their advantage as much as it is a blue one.
So hit and roll or hit and stay?
Hit and roll out is the goal.
Roll out.
Yeah, roll out to Leah's side, I guess, to the right.
Okay.
But again, this one's curling very early, so 2 misses. I don't know if they're really having the right conversations on those. So, you can only give Crook a few cracks at it before she'll make one. So, that's probably a point to discuss at the fifth end break.
Both of Carol's just hit and stayed. Yeah.
Which is not Carol's tendency for sure. She can throw the high hard one for sure.
Well, exactly, and I was just going to talk about maybe the weight was the factor there.
They've talked about keeping the weight down a little bit just to make sure they can control it. But in those cases where you don't want to stick around, just rear back and fire it. She can throw it with the best of us. So.
All right, so this is Hunter.
Julia's coming around again, but looks like she's maybe a little bit light, but I think she's going to be in the house here. No, just short. So overlap guards. I think you'll see Sarah come around this for sure. She has the choice of either going outside
we
wide.
haven't played much on the out turn here.
No, but they would have seen it in practice for sure, and I guess that was 5 ends ago, mind you. But there's a little bit less risk coming around the out turn side, I think, where it runs so straight for a while and then it just curls at the last 20 feet. So
we got a bit of a team meeting going on now. So
I think you'll see them come around. I don't think there's much less of a risk now that the guards are overlapped. So the run back, if they make a good one behind it, Team Crook can't run it back. So that's the key in this situation. Now Sarah will give herself lots of ice, so that's about 3 feet, almost 2 feet more than what Crook gave her team. So, but obviously the risk for Sarah is that she overcurls and taps that blue in.
So nothing biting, right?
Nothing biting, no. So she's just going to try to tuck any piece of her rock around that guard. Doesn't need to be fully buried. If it is, that's great. But goal number 1 is just get a piece around it.
And when you mentioned practice, of course they practice before every game, but this week started with a morning practice. All teams were given 10 minutes on each of the 3 ices. We had 3 teams going out in the morning, early morning, and then the team meeting, and then the remaining 3 teams, so that they really could throw on all the ices. And then before each draw, there is, I don't know how many minutes it is.
10.
It's 10 minutes.
Yeah, you get 10 minutes plus a minute to throw your last shot draw. But typically during the pre-event practice, it's a lot of rock matching, making sure that your rocks are consistent, making sure that you're happy with the pair that you've been given. More so, you don't usually start from skip down to make sure that the skip's happy with theirs. Look, this one's coming in really nice.
That's the way that we've...
They might have waited a little longer than they wanted to, but that's still a great shot. Mission accomplished for Sarah, and it forces Crook into a tough shot. So and then before the game, typically you're looking more at, you're comfortable with your rock, so that's not a factor anymore, and you're focusing on the line of the ice. And I mean, the ice does shift a little bit from game to game, from day to day. Just weather outside is a factor, humidity is a factor.
And they shave after every draw, so and re-pebble and nip, and
It's as good as it can get, but at times it may change between draws.
So Crook is, they're looking at maybe a timeout.
Timeout here. So you'll see John Corbin come out, who's Team Crook's coach. Team Crook has actually a coach and a fifth player, so I think they're one of the only teams that has a fifth player here. I think there might be a couple, but Shelby's been with them for the entire season. She played in St. Andrews, I believe. So, yeah. So Shelby's got a long list of accomplishments herself, and has been around the game for quite a long time. And I think she's got a university victory with UNB as well. So. You'll see John come out. The coach has the option to go to the other end, but with the screens now, the TVs above every single sheet, if you're sitting out in the lounge, you've got a pretty good idea of what's happening at the other end, so he doesn't feel the need to waste time to walk down there, because your time starts as soon as the timeout's called.
Right.
Relatively speaking. So,
unless the coaches are deferred from going out because of someone throwing or something.
Yeah. So in this case, just speaking behind the sheet, you see a few smiles from the girls, so might have been a quick decision to make, and they're back at it now. So, and their time won't start until the 90 seconds is done, even though the coach is gone now.
Right. And the chief umpire, Lawrence Forbes, has been here all week and will be to the end. So, kind of the coldest job out here, other than our junior.
And our cameraman.
That's true. Our cameraman as well.
I'm getting pushed here on my side, so.
All right, so the first of Samantha Crook's skips rocks here in the fifth end.
So they decided that hitting that rock is very difficult, and even if you do, you're probably rolling out and giving Sarah the same shot. So they're kind of changing their approach a little bit here and coming around on a wide out turn.
And that is a wide out turn, Jeremy. I don't think we've seen anything quite out that far, so we'll see how it reacts.
We haven't, but I expect it'll run straight for a good bit of the throw, and then very similar to Sarah's, it'll curl real hard at the end. The biggest question here is speed.
Well, exactly, and you've got a lot of fresh ice there as well, so we'll see how it.
They're not worried about it,
they're
but
liking what they see.
It looks really good. That is curling really hard, but it looks like it's going to be in there nice. Wow, look at that curl.
That really finished.
The weight came off it. So I think if they were in a more used path, they probably wouldn't have had to worry about it. Obviously, in this case, they were a bit surprised by what happened.
So it is biting.
It is biting, and there's two philosophies here. They can hit the blue one that's on the side. The risk, obviously, is if ever you tick that guard, you throw it, way tight. You may tick the blue in, and then the other option, I guess, would be to guard the yellow so that she can't hit the yellow.
Well, and she can go to the open side to be lying to force, and then could she not actually duplicate what she just did and come to the
but you don't want to leave a double either, right? So I think you're better off guarding in that case. If you're gonna do that, you might as well guard. So we're going to see a little discussion here. Jane is always kind of the voice of reason on the team. She's got the most experience for sure, and she's got a great feel for scenarios and situations. And sometimes looking at it from this end, it might look like those are a little tighter than they are, but there's actually 3 inches of room here between the guards and the one top 12. So
now does she want to stay? That would
ideally you hit right on the nose, or even if you got a little roll in and you were sitting 1-2, put a little more pressure on her. But ultimate goal is to get rid of it, because Crook still has a hard shot for the blank even if you hit and roll out.
Right.
It's there for sure, but it's not the easiest shot. So
I guess if she does roll out, Samantha could come down and just duplicate her shot. And,
and take
certainly have a better feel for it.
So this is the same spot that Sarah threw in the. It must have been the third end, I guess, where she ticked the corner guard. So they're on it right away, and her rock in that end over curled as well. So it looks like they're good. They seem to have held it out
pretty well.
They'd like for an inside roll, but even by staying there, it changes Samantha's shot, so she doesn't have the same shot.
And that's really ultimately what you'd like to do, right?
Mission accomplished, and you might see her go for the blank, but it's a bit of a scary shot there for sure, because you can only see half of it in a very curly spot. So drawing for one.
She is, and she's just looking at one, right? There's only
only one in the house, and drawing for one. So So that would tie up the game going into the break, fifth end break, and I think both teams are happy with that. There's no point in taking an unnecessary risk by trying to blanket here.
And Shannon Tadlock's troubles continue. Armstrong stole 2 in the fourth, so they're playing the fifth, down 6-1.
6-1. And Como picked up 1 in the fourth in that game, so it's 5-3. So you can see that they're just starting their ends in the fifth. So teams Crook and Mallais are speeding through this and giving us a bit of a quicker game than the other sheets for sure.
Good draw there.
Yep.
Get her 1.
So
we're all tied up, and we are going to take a bit of a break, as the girls on the ice are doing, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Well, welcome back to the 2018 New Brunswick Scotties Tournament of Hearts, being held here at Curl Moncton, brought to you by Curling New Brunswick and TV1. Appreciate TV1's support of this event. They're actually live streaming on Sheet 7 and on Sheet 9. We have fifth end break is over and we're all tied up at 3-3, with Mallais having last rock in here the sixth end. And some of the scores in the other sheets, Sheet 8, Armstrong over Tetlock, it's now 6-1, and they are just about finishing their fifth end. And Robichaud and Como 5-3, and they are also in the fifth end.
So, as you mentioned earlier, there's a bit of a scrub, or not a scrub, but a chamois that goes down in the fifth end. And I've noticed that almost every sixth end, you've got your first rock that usually comes right through the house because they're not aware of the fact, and it speeds up the ice a little bit, takes that little layer off the top, and allows for the ice to be a little bit quicker. And they're not touching Jane's here either, so this one might be in the house when they wanted a guard. So.
We see Chris Tapley, the ice technician. He will proceed to just pebble the sliding area, the back line, the hack area, I should say, on 7 and 8, as he did on ice 9. Once those two games have reached the fifth end.
And Kayla Russell here throwing a takeout. She's at 88%, as well as Jane Boyle. So a bit of a battle going on at lead. We've seen some great shots, some great setup shots from both teams.
Jeremy, from my viewpoint, that seemed a bit full, and there's no lack of weight either.
Wow, that looked good. Well, not good, but it looked like it was hitting it halfway down, and then it just kind of continued to set out. So
the weight, and
and again, her out turn. So like that's always a factor that I take for granted, because I've got four. We're four people who throw it right-handed, and I have played with lefties before, and it's just a different mindset a little bit. So you got to be a little bit aware of that.
So the girls are on and off this. Jane's second.
So Sarah's got a couple options here. She could throw up a corner guard, and sure, Samantha will hit this one, but at least she'll have a guard. She'd elect to go in and kind of force Samantha into a double at some point in this end. So Jane actually comes right through.
Wow. That's not typical for Jane.
No, I think they expected that one to be good based on the fact they weren't panicked. They were kind of cleaning it the whole way down, and then it just slid through. But that seems to be the theme of the sixth end a little bit, to not be expecting that same speed.
And this one as well. Now this will finish a bit, but it's still tracking there,
really
on that 4-foot
tracking
line. Yep.
Funny, I don't remember that in the first few ends.
But it's the speed, though.
Yeah, they are
really
throwing
the
it hard.
speed. They're throwing it through the curl. I really think. I don't think there's anything changing with the ice. I think it's really the speed.
Which is fine as long as you ice for it, right?
And that's right. That's
wide open end. You might as well, if you want to throw it hard, go ahead. Just make sure that everybody's on the same page. So we noticed that a little bit yesterday with Sarah's team as well. That there seemed to be a little bit of miscommunication about. Or misunderstanding, maybe.
I see you received your Tim Horton coffee.
I did, yes. Yeah. That's my wonderful mother-in-law. Shout out for brownie points. So Leah's asked to split the rings again, and it looks like they are not touching this at all. So they might need that one that Jane just threw through to stick around. So again, some real changing of speed here, but it looks like it's coming down. It got a little bit further out into the...
Yeah, that finished okay. Maybe they had too much munchies at their break or something. I don't know. All right, so the other games, as I say, they're just completing their fifth end. We are really almost an end ahead of the other two games. So
you're seeing a lot more rocks in those other games. Even just looking at it right now, I mean, both games have rocks in the house and in front of the house. So we're not from lack of trying, just seems to be a little bit of lack of execution on some of the guards, and then some bailouts.
So change the turn for, and it looks like it'll stick around.
Sarah shouldn't be too worried about that, I don't think. So they'll still continue with their goal of splitting the rings. And
so go to the open side.
Yep. Yeah, you could play a freeze over there, but then again, you're bunching the yellow rocks, and there's no need to do that right now.
So this is Leah's
Second throw.
intern, right?
That is her intern, yes. Yep.
So we'll see how this reacts. We haven't seen a whole lot play this way. The girls are really not brushing it.
No, they like it though.
Seems to be grabbing now, but you know what, dear? I think that might be a little hot.
Wow. Yeah, that really slid.
A little unusual here in the sixth inning. You'd think that
It's just that little extra chamois just increases that speed, and I think we saw it on the hits. I think we saw it on every single throw so far has been to the back of the house. So they need to recognize that and adjust to it early.
Yeah.
I mean, the first few rocks are fine, but at this point, it's a must adjust.
So takeout being requested here of Hunter.
And that rock sticking around on the last throw makes a huge difference now because Sarah's going to have to deal with it. So probably ask for a double here from Carol.
That's a pretty flat double, though, would you not say? But Carol can throw the up weight.
Carol can throw it. Yeah.
So half a rock?
Yeah, I mean, if you hit and roll over, it's not a big deal, but they're not asking for a whole lot of weight here, so I think it's just going to be a... So not quite what they wanted, but, gets rid of a rock. In this end, Sarah's obviously going to now go for a blank if possible, but I don't think they'd be devastated if they got one. They're very strong believers in hammer and even end, as most teams are now. We're kind of a bit more into a scoreboard management style. This looks like a good throw here from Julia. They're cleaning off and on. But again, a lot of weight on this.
Seems they've really upped their weight. Now that's going to stick around, but or is it? No.
Well, tried to, but no, I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either, but it's close. Yeah, for some reason the takeouts have really been upped, and I don't think that would have been something that they discussed during the break that they were going to do that. So.
No, that would typically never be the case. As you get later in the game, typically you become more comfortable with what's happening. You see Carol take a break there. There was some line calling over on the sheet next to them just to make sure she's focused, and that's a lot of weight here too.
So
needs to curl.
She looks like she'll make contact, but she's gone as well. So yeah.
Mission accomplished, but again, it just seems like there's a bit of everybody seems to be a little bit surprised and not
on both sides too.
Yep.
It's not
no. So, and I bet you once we see 7 and 8 start up in the sixth inning, probably the exact same story over there as well. So just
I really hadn't noticed that before, so it'd be interesting to see. Speaking of 7 and 8, we've got Skip's Rocks coming in an ice age. And the fifth end break has occurred on sheet 7 with the Robichaud leading Como 6-3 after 5. They're brushing this hard on sheet 8. All right, so we've got Samantha coming down to as an open draw, and the girls are backing off on this as well. So
yeah, more of the same.
Well, that's going to stick around, but it's still at the back of the... Well, I lie.
Yeah. Just stuck around.
Yeah. So it's fooling them a bit.
Yeah. So Sarah's going to make sure she hits this. It's always a little bit deceiving when the rock's at the back of the house because it's got an extra 12 feet of curl, right? So if it's taking the curl, you can be surprised at an over curl fairly easily. So I suspect she'll throw this relatively hard and just make sure she gets rid of it.
Yeah. So it's not important just to get rid of it, right?
Yeah. yeah, you'd like to stick around to force Samantha too, but and it looks like Shannon picked up 2 against Armstrong. She had a draw for 3 to, but it just slid through. So 6-3 at the 5th end break for Armstrong over Tatlock.
So this is the first of Sarah Mallais' rocks here in the 6th end.
They're sweeping it.
Having hammer, and the girls are staying on that. And
see that same spot right there, a little bit of it straightened out. So there might be a bit of a run there that we hadn't seen earlier today, and they're looking to see if it's in, and I don't think it is.
So again, Samantha just come down and probably not try to be as deep as she was on their first one. So the last of Crook's stones here in the 6th end. Just a reminder that the last of the round robin matches will take place this afternoon at 2:30. Crook playing Tatlock, Mallais playing Como, and Robichaud playing Armstrong, and that will determine the standings for, and typically, Jeremy, the best record goes through to the final, and then the 2nd and 3rd place, assuming there's no tiebreakers, will play off to see who then plays in the final.
That's exactly right. So there's a few scenarios that can happen even finishing first. If you have a better record than the second place team, tomorrow you actually have hammer in the first end plus your choice of color. So when we say choice of color, they can actually pick any set from any sheet that they've played on. So sheets 7, 8, or 9, they can pick yellow or blue, and they can pick a full set from either sheet. If the records are tied, but by virtue of the draw of the button, you have the advantage. You have choice of either hammer or color, and typically they'll take hammer in the first end. So.
Yes, and for the round robin play, the colors were predetermined. Everyone, all the blue colors, stones were throwing, were on the, sorry, how am I saying that? That they were assigned.
Yeah, so like on the schedule, if you're at the top, you know you're blue, and if you're at the bottom, you know you're yellow. So, and it's funny, Dad, we just saw on sheet 7 that a corner guard came into the rings, and then a hit just ran past because it was too heavy. So same story happening over there, and this is a very, very straight spot that Sarah's throwing on here that we've seen a few rocks coming through. So, but it looks like it's over curling a little bit. Just never quite believed it. I think she was a little spooked by those 2 hits. So they'll take their 1 for a 4-3 lead.
In the 6th end.
Yeah, I think she's a little spooked there.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It has reacted, but as I say, both teams seem to be not making the adjustment, and we'll the start of the 7th end to these are 10-end games. They have their powwow or their little get-together after every end and to discuss perhaps what took place and what the plan is for the future. So
yeah, and we see that Sarah's team has 20 minutes left on the clock, and Team Crook has 22 minutes on the clock. So when you start with 38 minutes and you're already more than halfway through the game, you've got well over half. There's not going to be any concern for time on both teams, and that's the way that we like to see it. We don't want to, it's never fun for anybody to be rushing Kevin Cooey style, trying to get their last throws in. That team is notoriously down to the last minute, so it's fun to watch. Makes it a little bit more exciting, but they seem to find a way to do it.
Now Sarah's asked Jane to come in the house, I believe.
Well, I think the thought is that Crook will probably throw up a corner guard, but you never know, right? We could see a nose hit here and so, another blank end. So let's see what the call is.
Yeah, top
corner
4.
Guard. Yep. So Sarah's happy with that. She'll throw up a guard on her second one, and it should hopefully be a game on here for this end, and we can see a few more rocks in play. Kayla Russell here, and this one looks to be sliding a little bit. They're watching it. But if it catches the curl, I think the weight might be okay.
And it typically will. This should start now. It's she may be in the rings, however, but no, good stone, good stone. That is about as good as you'd want, eh?
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of curl we're getting, though, considering a little bit more over to the right off that 4-foot line, because right now
It's a little tight,
Crook
eh?
doesn't have an out-turn draw, right? Because it would hit the corner guard. So with this amount of curl, if you're on a straight sheet of ice, like we've seen in past years or at other events, you can then tap that blue. But in this case, you'd rather have the opportunity to come around it. So just something that's a little bit different when you're on great ice, and it makes it a little bit more fun to be playing on that for sure.
And Jane was asked to put a guard on her.
Just right in front of it. Yeah.
Yeah, her first shot, which
like she's done that
very nicely. Yeah. So does Samantha start to? She actually can't remove that yellow stone as yet.
No, she can't remove the guard, and her corner guard. She can't come around her corner guard either. So, again, that's part of the situation where you want that to be over a little bit so you can use it. But a good freeze here puts them in a really good spot, and based on how Kayla's been playing, I'm assuming it'll be very close.
It has to cross that 4-foot line, which it should start doing any time now, but it might be up a little bit on this.
Yeah, I think it ran just a little bit longer and seems to be sliding right through.
Wow. So now, decision time for Sarah. Does she put a cap on that, or?
I think she'll set one right on top, so, yeah. And if ever you're a little bit light, it's not the end of the world. You're trying to...
Right, the option is there.
Yeah, but you'll see Samantha peel on the next one, and probably more of the same guard peel for the next few.
Once again, Jeremy, I'm reminded that our host committee comprised of about 11 people that took up the challenge to host this event, and then we have many, many more, probably 25 or 30 other people here at Curl Moncton that volunteer and give of their time to create events such as this. So we thank them for their contribution. So Leah Thompson, I guess a little longer, or?
Yeah, I mean it does the trick, and I'm actually I wasn't expecting this call, so she's actually asking Molly Ward to run back their blue. It's a great option if you make it, but if you don't, then you're looking at two guards guarding that yellow. So we'll see how close she is here. And Molly's actually a multi-sport athlete, so she's got lots of accolades, and some of it is not curling. So she's a soccer and rugby player at the provincial level, and as well as a national skipper. Not the curling skipper, I think she's skipping. So, interesting facts.
So, bumped hers in, took the guard away. Is Sarah concerned that there are now two blues in the house? Or?
It's a bit of a, because I mean those two in the top that are guarding the yellow are fairly easy to double peel too. So, I think you get rid of the rock, but you'll see Crook probably throw the come around on the next one, and if they make a good one, then Sarah could be chasing a little bit here.
And does she want Leah to stick around?
Yeah, you'd like to stick around for sure. And looks like she's throwing nice weight here.
Jane's on and off it, so
they could actually make a double if they sweep it, but I don't know. Yeah, not bad. So they stayed for actually shots 1 and 2. So fairly good option, and you'll see the double peel here that we discussed. So
once again, Jeremy, the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, of course, wouldn't happen without the support of Kruger products. Also locally, we have Bobley Productions, Kevin R. Williams, Sun Life Financial, Deloitte, known to you, of course, Uni, Shoppers Drug Mart, Atlantic Superstore, TD, Kirkwood Diamond Canada, and KKP.
A great shot there by Molly Ward. She her numbers haven't been great so far, but I think those two shots will pick her up a little bit. Some good setup shots for Team Crook.
So wide open now, and Sarah's going to try to replicate some guard.
Yeah, I think she'll probably go a little bit tighter, but it's more of the same. I think we'll see a few run backs from Team Crook on the next one, with Julia throw in, who can most definitely throw some weight. So.
So Kara Whitaker being asked for a centerline guard, or it looks like Sarah says if it comes into the house, that's not terrible either.
It looks like they're not going to have much of a choice here. Seems like the same path that Kayla threw, where it ran a little bit longer and is a little bit heavy.
Well, she's back. Yeah, she's back 4 foot weight. So yeah,
not bad. There's a little pocket back there, but we'll see what Crook does.
So Samantha asking for removal of that top shot rock on the 4 foot, and she could get multiples out here.
Yeah, I think she's hoping to probably get rid of 2 yellows and sit 2 blues in there, and that changes Sarah's outlook a little bit.
Hunter certainly no lack of weight here.
No. It's curling more than they thought it was going to, I think, but it looks pretty good.
She moved a lot of ground out
great
on that
shot.
one. Yep.
So Carol will be asked to do a double right back. Pretty well a nose hit for her. And Carol is I would say, the most decorated curler here out on this sheet today for sure. She's got 3 junior titles at Canada Games, Junior Worlds and Junior Nationals, as well as 3 Scotties, 4 New Brunswick and PEI. I think those are the only 2 provinces. So, lots of experience from Carol, and has been a solid player for Sarah for the past few years. So,
they're not brushing this one, Jeremy. They're letting it take
they might be playing the double the other way, a little bit across the face if they're pretty close on it. Oh, just missed it.
All right, but line 2.
Line 2, yep. And not an easy double. So, good result there for sure. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say hi to Griffin, Carol's son, who might be at home watching, but probably not watching because it is curling and he's a young boy. So.
Well, we have lots of young up-and-up curlers coming up, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
So. In fact, speaking of that, anyone who has come near Curl Moncton will certainly have noticed that there's construction taking place on the Lockhart Street side, our former parking lot. That is a $2.5, a little better, $1 million project to create 5 sheets of ice for Curl Moncton. People will remember that Moncton used to host 15 curling sheets, 5 in each of the 3 clubs. We're down to only 5 sheets now. So the project is underway with completion date scheduled for hopefully June of this year. Obviously, it's not intended for this curling season, but it is. We want it in time for the curling camps, which happen every year here at Curl Moncton. 5 to 6 weeks of curling camps for the juniors, the youngsters, but adults as well. So that's well underway. And
so, would you say Curl Moncton's at capacity for members a little bit right now, with the fact that they brought in from 3 clubs down to 1?
You know what, you'd think that, but it really didn't work out that. I think the demographics of people aging and whatever, you'd think that we'd be overflowing. Certainly, we're tight when it comes to competitive curlers, even wanting to find ice time to come practice and stuff like that. But no, there's still a bit of room, but it is tight. So certainly, it's more for it's not for my generation, probably still for your generation, but and the youngsters. Yeah.
For Zane's generation.
There you go.
And I saw Riley, Kathleen Ward's daughters here as well today, so they're planning out their mixed doubles schedule for the next in about 18 years. So nice to see some young faces around the club today, and obviously with 2 junior teams here, so Team Como and Team Crook are both at the junior level, and they've had some great success at the junior level. To see them competing here at the women's level and really giving some good games, and even at that, like having shot at it is, and competing at the national level is wonderful.
So shot rock removed and remains for shot.
So Sarah's deciding what turn to throw. She's got both options for sure, and this is her last rock at the end.
So Samantha has hammer, so Sarah would, after she finishes this shot, would certainly like to be line 2. to put the fourth on the force on Samantha. So the last rock of seventh end for Sarah.
She set this one out just a hair, but it seems like it's...
They jumped on it, but I think Carol suggested that perhaps that shouldn't happen.
No, she just set it just at the last second there, so I don't think this one will stick around. Haven't seen that too much from her, but most definitely on that one. So
just a little object for Samantha. Remove this and roll out, get her blank, and have hammer in the eighth.
Samantha's a student at Mount A in Sackville, New Brunswick. She's got, like I said, the provincial championship last year. She's got two high school championships as well as an under 18 girls Atlantic champion. So she's had some great success in her young career, and again lost the final this year to Team Como here at Crow-Moncton.
All right, so
sweepers
Samantha's
are not touching this at all.
Again, that extra weight, Jeremy.
That's all it is.
It's
and I think that's why you've seen a little bit of Sarah's hesitation on a few of her chances. Just, it's so easy to do if you don't throw it perfect or pure. That is the tendency and the potential risks. So,
and for the viewers at home, the ice is not changing. We're consistently seeing the curlers just up their weight a bit, which it tends to react differently.
Right, it's fine. You just need to ice for it. And this is the break brought to you by Arnold's phone. It doesn't have a silent button. Anybody who knows Arnold knows that he loves his phone. So over on sheet 7, Como took one in the 6th, so they are down 6-4 to Robichaud, and they're still playing the 6th end for Team Tatlock and Armstrong, but it looks like Armstrong has a blank coming up here to keep the score at 6-3.
So the start of the 8th end, we have Sarah, who's stole one in the 7th end to make the score 5-3. Starting the 8th end, and time-wise, as you said, we have remaining time. Crook has 19 minutes and 6 seconds left with one timeout, and Mallais has 17 minutes 50 seconds with 2 timeouts after 7 ends.
Plenty of time, so that's great. And we just got our stat sheet, and we're noticing that there has been a little bit, evident by the result of what we've seen. Some of the numbers dropping a little bit. So Team Mallais is at 75 and Team Crook is at 70. So just, it's not from, I don't think the level of difficulty was any harder. It just seems like they're not reacting, they're not moving their broom around enough for the weight that they're throwing. So
but you'd almost think the suggestion would be just reduce the weight a bit, because this is nice curling ice, and it seems to be, and I'm not going to say fooling them, they're overthrowing them, I think.
Yes.
All right, so
our generation might say that you just need to reduce the ice and throw it hard, but either way.
So Jane is being asked to centerline guard of the shot rock in the 4-foot. Samantha had her lead place it on the 4-foot.
So again, maybe that's where Team Crook likes their corner guards, or perhaps it's just being a little fooled by the ice. So a couple of options there, but it seems like Kayla's consistently throwing it at that spot, so that might just be the case.
Now this seems to be coming in a little deep for Jane.
But she's got the right angle, so there's no double and roll. So that's a great spot for her, and it forces Samantha to play on it.
Well, so Kayla she might get the roll, but it just wouldn't be a double. Yeah.
Kayla herself is the junior curling coordinator at Miramichi Curling Club, and as well as the Rocks and Rings coordinator for Miramichi. So she would go to the schools and teach them the Rocks and Rings and get that into the school. So that's so nice to see the young people who are willing to take that on. I know Kathleen was doing it for a little while out of Fredericton, and it makes such a big difference when you've got young people teaching young people the sport. We've got lots of older volunteers who are trying their hardest, but it's not always the same message that comes across when you've got some older folk doing it. So I think
I'll tell Rick Perron, Tony Benoit, and Mickey Mazerel what to, but they are helping out with some of our juniors.
Yes,
which
it is great,
yes.
But it's nice to have the young blood.
All right, so Leah's being asked to remove the Crook stone on the 8-foot. And they're brushing that, trying to keep it straight.
Yeah, it looks good.
She might get a little bit of a roll. So back to where Jane's rock was initially. Now this is more set up for a double, right?
Yeah, I thought they'd actually leave it. Nose wasn't a bad shot there, I don't think, to alleviate this potential double and roll. So if Mallais makes a good shot here, we could be Sarah could be chasing a little bit. So again, it's easy to say from up here, and you always think the roll, and they might have been trying for the long roll behind the corner guard, but
now indication from the sweepers was that maybe that's a little heavier than required, and sure enough, Jeremy, that's not it's not one to cross the center line.
No. Not what for sure, not what they wanted. So Sarah will, I think, now try the nose hit from Leah and sit 1-2. It seems to be the same setup consistently, or relatively consistently, that Team Crook is looking at a couple Mallais rocks early on in the ends, and it's allowing or forcing Samantha into some relatively tough shots.
Now they waited. That's moving now, though, Jer. And again, I think that weight.
I think they're going for the roll, maybe.
You think?
A little bit. No, that's good. So nice weight. Yeah, that weight makes a big difference. You can actually catch a little bit of curl and you control it with your sweepers. Like you said, the sweeping ice is great, but if you're throwing the up weight, it's all on the thrower.
So Samantha's asking for a freeze on
changing the gears. There is a double there that's possible, but I think they would really like to score this end. They've got to, looking further to this end. You give up a steal or a blank in this end, and then your time's running out a little bit. So I think they're going to be playing a little more aggressive, but
they haven't laid a brush to this yet, Jeremy.
No,
she may have just pushed that out a bit.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And I have heard from a few people that it's actually sometimes it feels at least like coming one way, throwing either home or away, that it's actually a little bit faster. And I've seen that in a few different clubs where whether it's perception, whatever it might be, we're seeing a lot more throw-throughs coming to the head house here than we are seeing going away. So whatever reason that might be, I don't know whether there's any truth to it or not, but it's interesting to kind of note.
Well, no. Carol's thrown this out as well.
Well, I think she threw it really good. I just think it was too much ice.
I talked to that weight again. That was board plus. Anyway, we'll.
Yeah.
However, we're not on the ice, so we can only comment on what we see, right?
And I can only tell her after when she won't listen to me. So.
All right, Samantha's calling for a timeout.
So again, we'll see John Corbin come out. Longtime junior coordinator. I think this is the first year that he actually, for the past few years, he's now dropped off the NBCA board as the junior director, but he was instrumental in kind of getting them on the right track and keeping them on the right track. And I know they've got a great committee of parents and dedicated volunteers who are taking care of the juniors as well. And we seem to be, with the talent that we're getting out of our province, we seem to be doing some right things. Obviously we'd like more numbers, of course, but the talent-wise, we've had some great success in the past, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Justine lost in the, I believe it was a semifinal a few years back. Renee Como, of course, and then beyond that in the early 2000s with some really, really great success. So.
No, that's great.
Yeah, and our board for the ABCA is always looking for comments and thoughts. And if anybody has any curlers that are out there, whether you're elite or whether you're a homegrown curler, we'd love to hear your comments and hear your thoughts. And the more information we have, the better off we are. So I am the high performance curler rep, I guess, on the board, and I am a voting member, so your voice does matter, and it has made a difference. And I've told that to the girls this week, and I'll tell the men the week in Miramichi the same thing. I mean, we need info to make things better or make changes. So don't ever shy away from giving your opinion and your thoughts.
No, that's great that there's an open policy like that too.
I think we're the only province that has a rep too as a voting member, so it's kind of a neat idea.
We sat down after the first draw. All the teams, you were there, the head official, a number of my committee, to determine what we were doing about the storm, and so it was a consensus, and everyone went with it and appreciated everyone's input. All right, so they decided to
play the double.
Right, instead of the freeze, right?
No wrong call. You make them both. You're in a great spot. And based on how we've seen kind of some of the throws coming this way, the freeze isn't much easier. I think this is over curling to nose. So John's thought might be that's your best chance at making the double. If Sarah knows it's this one now, they'll still have that freeze. So give it a go. You make it, you're behind the corner guard. So the theory is right. It just execution on that one for sure.
Now, I would think that if she can, and depending on the weight that Carol throws, then she just asked Sarah to use the other turn, which is interesting. But she might like to roll over to this shot rock, would she not?
No, well, I think nose is probably the call. Make them make the freeze. We haven't seen a whole lot of that. You bring it over there, you might leave an easier double. Yeah. Now, with that being said, this one looks like it might be rolling regardless of what they want.
I think they're good.
Yep. We'll see where this one ends up. That's a good spot.
That's the one I wanted.
Yep.
No, that's good. So lies 2, and now
I think you'll see the freeze maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the real problem rock right now is that one top 12. However, though, so there wouldn't, I wouldn't be surprised if ever she kind of tried to move that one, because her draw is a little bit impeded now if ever they need to. But Julia makes a good one here, and she's curling 80% today, so she's having a great game so far. They could be in a pretty good spot here.
The girls are they're starting to brush it now.
It's curling for sure. So I think you're seeing the one sweeper because they don't need it for weight, but they need it for line.
Here it comes.
Looks like a good one here. If it sticks around.
Wow.
That straightened up right at the last few feet.
Yeah.
And
might have been a tad heavy for
right? Sure.
Yeah, back 8 foot. So.
And I believe it's actually number 3 now. Yeah. So Team Yellow is 1-2. If it's sitting second shot, it's a whole different story. So just a little heavy on that one again, and you're not catching that same curl with that weight.
So I mean, again, hindsight. Now that shot wasn't made, perhaps going after that top one and getting even a roll to the other side.
Because now I think you'll see Sarah guard that freeze and force Samantha to come around the wide out turn.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any reason for Sarah to bring another rock into the rings.
No, I think you might just make it easier to get rid of 2 rocks. Right now there's no double, so by throwing another one in, you might leave an easy double to then bring that one back 12 into play. Right now you're going to have a heck of a time to bring that one in.
So the first of Sarah Mallais' rocks here in the 8th end. So anywhere center line?
Center line, even over. You don't mind leaving that one top 12 wide open, so that if ever she does come around it, you can still run it back. So if you overlap, then you're kind of hurting yourself more than anything. So
sure.
I think we'll see a little bit of an over curl here if possible. We haven't seen too many guards here this game. The guards on curly ice like this is not always the easiest. Shot. So.
Oh, they haven't laid a brush to it. It's finishing up now. Yep.
So I think, again, they want to move it over so that you have that full access to that one top 12, and that seems like
the last foot of that really
Yeah.
came over sideways, didn't it? Again, nice weight. She really threw it to the rushers, which is what I think a lot of players don't do. And
Right, unless you're looking at the elites, and then you see every shot there's somebody sweeping. I can't think of the last time you saw somebody just stand there and not any sweepers not sweeping the rock. So
right.
that's they're playing on the best ice possible every game, so it makes it a bit easier. But it makes it easier when you've got four people working at it rather than just one trying to make it by themselves.
So Samantha's looking for the bump back, Jer?
She's looking for the run back, yeah. So she'll be throwing some, that hard weight again. But she's tightened up the ice a little bit now.
Yes, because this is typically where
a little bit of
weight,
a straight spot.
It's been sitting, yeah.
Yeah. So she'll be looking for the almost straight on the nose, and again that brings in the back one into play a little bit. So close on it.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's curling.
That looked like that jumped on her,
yeah, it sure
Jeremy.
did. She might tick off the center line and tap it in, but wow, that really jumped. I haven't seen anything like that there for sure.
Oh. Again, release might have had something to do with that.
Maybe, but it was halfway down. Like it seemed like it was further down than that. So
yeah.
You got to give them more credit than that.
The looks like Tadlock gave up another deuce, so that game they've shaken
It's an
hands.
8-3 final for Armstrong. So Armstrong moves to 3-1, and Tatlock moves to 0-4.
So with one game left, Tatlock struggling a little bit. So.
And on sheet 7, the Robichaud Como game, Robichaud picked up 1 to be up 7-4, playing in the 8th now. So Como will be looking for her 2 to kind of bring this game closer together for sure.
Tatlock, of course, many years as many times has represented Carol Moncton with the what used to be.
Used to be the Dominion, now it's the Travelers.
Yes,
now.
right.
Yeah.
So she's had a run of that 3 years, I believe. And,
and she's
Lynn LeBlanc, her lead, I didn't realize, but she was some excited in the first match. This is her first Scotties.
Oh, really?
She's only been curling for 7 years, and of course, the veteran Sandy Como, who's been to a few Scotties and a few mix.
We talked about that. She won her first one in '93.
There you go.
So yeah, it's been a little while for sure.
All right, so the last of Sarah Mallais' stones here in the 8th end. The girls are just, looks like they're just allowing that to finish.
I think she's trying to lie 3 here, just to put a little more pressure on Samantha. It shouldn't change Samantha's decision to draw on the wide out turn, I don't think, but does put a little bit more pressure on her. But I think it did sit just a little too early, and I think they're only lying 1-2. So.
Yeah, I thought the way the line was coming down there, they might have even been able to try to bump that. But
yeah, the only risk is that you don't want to leave a triple, right? You don't want to leave anything. So
or open it up and then have her come and get. Yeah,
you're almost better off not throwing it sometimes. Not quite, but.
So she needs to be throwing for what, T-line weight? And,
T-line weight, and just grab a piece of the butt or piece of the forefoot. We'll do it.
Again, in this game, we haven't been out quite that far over here, although I don't suspect, but she might be getting on some fresher pebble, right?
Yeah, which could, we saw it be a little bit slower going away. I think it might actually speed it up a little bit coming this way, just based on what we've seen.
So, Samantha Crook throwing the last of the
And looking at 2 again, it seems
in the 8th end.
Seems like she's looked at a couple almost every time she's come up to bat, so...
The brushers are leaving this, Jeremy. They're back and forth. It's starting to get some movement now.
Yeah. So the curls hitting it, and it's the weight's coming off of it for sure.
And it looks like she'll
Great
get
shot.
to her forefoot. Nicely done.
Made it look easy.
Yep. So Crook scores 1 to finish the 8th end. It is 5-4 Mallais over Crook. We have the game. Sheet 8 completed with Armstrong beating Tatlock, and Robichaud and Como, they're coming into the 8th end with Robichaud 7-4 over Como.
So with Armstrong winning, it puts a little bit more emphasis on the game this afternoon against Sylvie, because they are playing each other both at 2-1, and depending on how the other two games go, there could be some very, very big implications this afternoon at the 2:30 game. So
they'll be 3-1, right?
So Armstrong's 3-1, sorry,
yeah.
and then Robichaud, if the game finished right now, they would be up against Como, and they would be 3-1 as well. So
and then Como would drop to 2-2.
2-2.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's and that's the way that it is set up. At the prelims, they played an event in St. Andrews. All 6 teams were there to rank them 1 through 6, and that typically comes into play when they get into the round robin game here, where the 1 and 2 teams, Sylvie and Jennifer, are playing each other in the final round robin game. Just to make it, it's expected to be that they will both be in the hunt, and in this case, I think they will be both still in play. So that's working out to the Drawmaster's advantage for sure in that case.
So Jane was asked to come around, and she did, perhaps a little deep.
A little heavy, yeah. Seems to be.
Samantha asked for front guard, which she got. So now
Molly, or no, Kayla, sorry.
Kayla's being asked to freeze onto the shot rock, the back of the forefoot.
Yeah. And again, I think a top 4 would be the miss here. Going heavy is not going to get them very far. They're not sweeping it, but I expect that it'll curl and come off.
It will finish once it gets to the hog line, but they hadn't laid a brush on it, so it was all.
Look at that
all
thing
thrower.
move! Wow, great shot. That's a good spot. I think it surprised them a little bit for sure, but it is it's very usable and very workable for sure.
So with the free guard zone, Sarah could start attempting to clean house here, because 4 rocks have been
still
thrown.
Jane.
Oh, it's still Jane. Sorry.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. No. Right.
So I think she'll play a freeze on the 1 top 8.
Sarah did indicate possibly going to the open side, but
I think your issue rock right now is that 1 top 8, and okay. Well, their goal this end is to not give up, so I guess that kind of gives the indication that on the next rock, you're right, that they will be most definitely clearing the front of the house, because they want to make sure that they at least score 1 here.
Sure.
They don't want to be getting into any situation where they're giving up a potential steal, so playing it as wide open as possible, and I actually thought they might do that on Jane's first one rather than coming around.
Right.
But
so Leah and Carol are crushing
it
this, and they're just top 8 foot. Yeah. Good weight, and it finished nicely on that side as well.
yeah.
So a repeat for Samantha. She's
Molly's throwing on this one and trying to make Kayla's just a little bit better by coming around.
So she wants to get to the shot rock, right? Yeah. A little more ice, obviously.
Really sweeping it, and it's as far out as we've seen anything over there for sure.
But as soon as it gets to that hog line, now her weight may be down a little bit. Yeah, they're really brushing that, but and it may have gotten out on some of that fresh stuff too, or fresher. It's finishing though.
So now a bit of a decision for Sarah. You can either play the double on the ones in the house, or you can play the peel. The double is a fairly natural, as Jason Vaughn would say, a pair of pants. So I think you might see that on this one, and then you're set up pretty good, right? You'd be right top 8. Carol's going to go have a little discussion with Sarah to see the angles and make sure that's one of the hardest things as a sweeper, is knowing the angles and really understanding kind of what needs to be done.
Yes, and that's where that discussion needs to happen as well. The thrower can be thinking one thing. Carol should be coming back and communicating with Lee and Jane as to what her and Sarah discuss.
And I like that. I don't think you always need to have all 4 talking. No. I think sometimes, Carol and Sarah's relationship is different because they're in the house together on Sarah's throws. So they've determined that the problem rock is the one in front of the house, not the ones in the house, and I can't disagree. There's no wrong call as long as you make the peel or the double. So.
The big thing here, regardless of doubles or whatever, you just don't want that guard to remain there. So
No, you gotta
chip it out.
Make a
You can
proper
jam, you
peel.
can do all kinds of stuff, but remove the guard, right?
They like it so far, but let's curl up just a hair. Looks good.
Yep.
Good throw from Leah. And I think Samantha will just simply replace it. Or tap, okay. So mission accomplished for Sarah. She's happy that there's not going to be any more guards here.
So Samantha indicated back 8 foot weight.
And then I think you'll see Sarah try a double of some kind if possible.
So we're in the 9th end of this, the 4th game of the round robin. The last round robin game takes place here at Curl Moncton at 2:30 this afternoon with Tatlock and Crook, Como against Mallais, and Armstrong against Robichaud.
Looks like Molly
a little
just
bit forced error there.
Yeah, I think it's just the same. You're not catching that same curl on that out turn right now, and you're expecting it to curl 6 feet sideways rather than going
she was
6 feet
back
further.
line plus, so
Right.
yeah, took the sweepers right out of it, obviously. But
Exactly.
so, she happy with getting one out here? Or is she going to try the double?
I think she's going to be happy with getting one out. If she can push that blue one over to the side, is probably the ultimate goal. But you got to make sure you eliminate a rock. So.
Does she care if she sticks around, or
She should stick. It'd be hard to not stick around, right? Because you've got the yellow on the left and the blue on the right, so you're probably not.
Last
What
thing
you
you wanna
don't
do
want to
is-
do is jam. But I think this one might come up enough to get to know.
just
So
at the end?
oof,
Yep.
that was scary. So mission accomplished there, and I think you'll see Samantha do. I should just stop predicting shots. I was going to say.
Yeah,
this.
let's see.
I was going to
Samantha's
say the
asking-
same tap, but
She's asking for the double.
you might actually get the triple if you hit it right.
Yeah. So
Again, we've seen
this is
Julia throw the
first
right
of
weight.
Julie's.
We've seen her throw the right weight on a few occasions here. Lots of speed. So
All right, the first of the mates rocks for Crook, and not much ice being given, Jeremy. Right on the 4 foot line, so
she set it
they're
up
not
just
laying
a
they're
hair.
not laying a brush to it. She might get a double the other way. Yeah, that's set back. Oh, she moves shot rock out of the way.
Yeah, they could have been on that one just to make it a little bit better, because then you're sitting 2 and 3. But I guess you might have lost your shooter. So Sarah's just looking for a nose hit here to lie 1, 2, 3 in the 9th end is a pretty good option. And the ultimate goal is just to score one. Make sure you score, and they've accomplished their goal so far to keep it wide open. So
The first of Carol Whitaker's rocks here in the 9th end, and they're not touching this one. She'll certainly have contact, whether she sticks around or not.
it's about half a rock, and
Rolls out. Well,
we'll see the overhead here. I think you're out. I think she's out for sure. So, just again another little unforced error. No need to overthrow that. You gotta start sticking around on those, and but
and
again,
that's the difference, isn't it?
yeah, Team Mallais still happy. They're still lying 1, 2. It's just a 3 here would obviously put it out of reach, and a 2 is almost doing that, but not quite to the same level. This one's curling a little bit now.
Yeah, Hunter. So she'll make her really moving now.
Yeah,
You're
it
gonna
actually
get the
looks like
roll.
a great
Yep.
shot. So Carol's going to have a pretty well almost the exact same shot here, but that roll forces Sarah to stay on the right side rather than being able to roll over and splitting
Correct.
the ring. So a great shot there by Julia to set it up for Samantha. Carol wasting no time. Maybe a little upset about her last one.
So the last of mates rocks. They're not touching this one, Jeremy.
No, she's got a little bit less weight though. I think she should be sticking around here. Shouldn't be an issue. That jumped a little bit, but
Did, but
good shot.
Rocks, yeah. So Mallais remains line 2. Samantha or Julia just looked to see whether that other rock was in the rings, but we believe it is not. Plus, Samantha's got the other one over there anyway. All right, the first of Samantha Crook's skips rocks here in the ninth end, facing 2. Is she attempting the double, Jeremy? Or
Yeah, she is. I think she indicated the double. She's probably going to roll out, but I think their philosophy is being down 1 without is not that. I mean, it's manageable, whereas being down 2, it's really the same thing. Either you're going to steal 1 or get 2 in the last end. So.
Okay. Well, she's got lots of rotation on this, and
looks very, very close to making that double, actually.
Very nice.
And sticks the shooter.
And
great shot.
Around.
That's a great shot to set them up here.
So I guess at this point, Sarah wants to eliminate either one. I mean, obviously she's going to go for the shooter, but hitting the top one and rolling in isn't terrible.
No. I mean, the other option is she could play the freeze, but I think she'd rather not be looking at 3 or 4 or 3 on her last one. So get rid of 1, stick around. Hopefully Samantha rolls out, and then she can blank and go into the last end with control. Keeping the hammer is always a good thing. So you have that last shot to.
So the first of skips rocks for Sarah Mallais here in the ninth end.
Again, Sarah's up 5-4, going into the last end here. Hoping to keep control of the game.
They're not laying a brush, so here we go now.
That's curling hard. I think they got to sweep it. Are they trying to roll behind the corner guard, maybe?
Wow.
That is a great shot.
Very nicely done.
Very scary. They weren't panicking. I was. But they sure weren't, so that's good. That's why.
That was well thrown. That was...
Because that puts a little pressure on Samantha to make sure she doesn't tick the top one. So, good shot here. Sarah should have a shot at 1 no matter what. So, well played end by Team Mallais, and a great shot on Samantha's last one to maybe force the situation here.
Yes,
she's made a lot of shots this week. I've been watching Samantha. Right. Not that familiar with the junior scene anymore now that I've kind of grown up, I guess. But she's been solid for sure.
All right, so the last of Samantha Crook's skips rocks here in the ninth end, attempting to remove the shot rock just thrown by Sarah Mallais. And she's taken about the same ice, I think, that Sarah had.
She set hers out just a hair more than Sarah's, but it looks like it's nice weight, so it should curl up.
Well, they're calling the sweepers off.
That's just running just a little bit more, but I think she's going to...
Wow, that really seemed to back off, Jeremy.
Wow, it sure did. She just had a little bit more of an outward motion than Sarah, so I think that's the only difference between the two.
Again,
is really
we're not complaining about the ice. It's not.
Oh goodness, no.
It's just that the deliveries are different, and the rocks react differently.
So Sarah's going to be happy with 1 if she takes 1. She's happy with the blank. There's the alternative of drawing here, but you just don't want to take that risk.
You'd rather just thinking of that.
Make sure you get rid of it. It doesn't matter whether you stick around or not. And I think they've looked at that one on the right a few times. I don't think it's in, but you never know. They might put the stick to it if ever Sarah sticks around.
The rings typically here have been pretty accurate, so I don't think that. I was hearing some stories yesterday by one of the chaps when they used to play in Dalhousie. He made the comment that the rock appeared about a foot off the rings. They put the stick to it. It's okay. But I don't think we see that
I can't imagine. But one of the things that's interesting about Curl Moncton is that the rings are actually permanently painted on the floor.
Concrete floor.
Ray Cormier did that years and years ago when I was a summer student here. So kind of an interesting approach where most clubs are painted on once the ice goes down. This is actually this is the floor. You come here in July and it'll look just the same. So that looks like a blank by Team Mallais. Team Crook might want to put a stick to the other one, but I can't imagine that being the case. So.
Yeah, painting the floor, it's a little more expensive, but the labor the help with the labor when we do flood, it's so much quicker now.
And the consistency, right? I
yeah.
mean, you're not guessing whether your measurements are right. You've got what it is 1 year, the other year, and I'm impressed at how well it's kept the. Like I was worried that you'd have tracks of.
Do you know what?
Dirt or
Every
whatever it
year
might be,
there are some cracks that have to, and Ray comes back, thankfully, and patches. Not a lot, and we used to actually hold events here in the summertime, doing our best to cover the ice, but we've gotten away from that. Yeah.
I think they said it was jet paint. They painted it, which is pretty neat. So, over on sheet 7, Como drew against 2 to get 1 to be up or to be down. Sorry, 7-5 versus Robichaud. So Robichaud will play the 9th with Hammer up by 2. And it looks like Kayla Russ has a great tight guard here.
Which cannot be removed. So
Sarah has a couple options. She could always try with the tick, the Weagle as it was. But they elect to come around, and the key here is just to keep it in front of the tee line. Anything behind the tee line is going to only hurt you. So they aren't
not
sweeping
laying a brush to this, and it's getting back to the 4-foot line. Yeah. So here they go. Oh. They might be a little heavy though.
Jane's having a great game at 82% so far, and Kayla's not far behind at 78. So a bit of a battle here at lead, and that's kind of not where you want to be. Anywhere's but there. So, Jane knows that, and I'm sure her next one will be a little bit closer. But
Samantha's asking for another corner guard, or for a corner guard, I should say.
So the option on that one, Dad, would be to tighten up the ice, and if ever you overcurl and you tick that blue one in, then you can then hit it. So. You've kind of got to make a decision, but if you're playing the come around, if you're a little tight, that's okay. So, something.
Yeah, they're just on and off this one. It looks like it's coming up nicely.
Yeah.
It's actually going to curl on them a little bit, I think. However, she did ask for up front, so.
Yeah, not bad separation on those. Her first one was so good that it allows her to be a little bit.
Jeremy, would it be? Sarah would have the option of coming around the same turn that Samantha just threw.
Yeah, but Jane just threw this turn, so she knows it. She's not guessing on the other turn. All so, right. And I have a feeling Jane wants to make this one pretty bad, considering her first one, and I suspect that she'll be close. They're sweeping it, which is a good sign.
Yep. Again, leave it to the sweepers. Like I said, this ice has been typically sweepers ice, so
that is curling.
They're holding that nicely.
Wow.
Here it moves now.
Well, not the end that Team Mallais wanted to set up, that's for sure. So there'll be some cleanup here coming ahead, and hopefully they can get this cleared up for Sarah to have an open draw, an open hit for the win.
So the blank occurred in the 9th end. So Mallais has Hammer here in the 10th. And it looks like Como scored her 1 in the 8th end on sheet 7. So 7-5, Robichaud over Como in the 9th end.
And here's Molly Ward throwing the outturn come around. They haven't swept this at all either.
There's that weight issue, Jeremy.
Yeah. So if Sarah can get this one back, it'll alleviate a little bit of pressure on Leah to try to make that double peel just the same. So a bit of a missed opportunity
now,
there.
Would you go for the high guard, or would you just...
The high guard looks like a natural run back, because if ever you can hit that yellow anywhere, just both blues are gone.
Right.
But we'll see here what turn. Sometimes people who are peeling just have a preference of what turn, and there's nothing you can do, but they are throwing Leah's outturn.
Leo's outturn.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And just a hair high, about 3/4 should get it close to making all 3 of them go.
Well, we are in the 10th end, and Leah's throwing.
This is very close. Whoa.
Just once again, a shout out to our sponsors, Kruger Products.
Nice shot there.
Longtime sponsors of this event, and both nationally and provincially. We have Bob Lee Productions, Kevin R. Williams, Sun Life Financial, Deloitte, Uni, Shoppers Drug Mart, Atlantic Superstore, TD, Kirkwood Diamond Canada, and KKP. Thank you so much for your support, and of course, we can't forget about Our gentleman here from
5TB1.
right, who's been we've been live streaming on both sheet 7 and sheet 9 here all weekend. We'll continue to do so till the completion of the tournament.
It makes a big difference when you can. We've really been privileged to be able to watch this wherever you are, and whether you're from New Brunswick or all across the world in Canada. It's been it's a great asset for the New Brunswick Curling Association, and when you get some of the numbers, we do it for the Jim Sullivan Curling Classic at TSA, and some of the numbers that we get back as to where people are watching from is just astounding. It's nowhere that you'd ever think that the people would care. But
I heard that at the junior event.
Yeah,
Someone was in Florida and could see the because we hosted the boys and girls under 21, so it was just great.
So it's great for family members, great for the teams, and it makes it a little more exciting for the players too to be on TV and being out here, being able to showcase their talent. So
Lee has accomplished both of hers takeouts, and
so Samantha will guard until her last rock, and she'll probably promote that blue one to the tee line and make Sarah make a double for the win. It's kind of one of those ends where you can see the whole thing playing out in advance, but it's still about execution at this point to make sure that you're giving yourself a shot at the win. In both cases, I guess the tie for, Crook would be very happy with the tie to go to an extra end, and Sarah would be happy to not bother playing an extra one.
So Julia is being asked for a long guard, right? Or a guard.
Yep, a guard.
It looks like it's going to be long, but yep. So now decision time for Sarah. She removed the guard. Did you come in?
You remove the guard.
Always, huh? So the first to Carol's.
And I think Carol will ask for the other turn potentially, just to avoid the one here on the left. But we'll see. Yeah. Yep. So if ever you jam that blue one on the one on the left, there's just a risk that it might roll in. So just keep it.
And she's really not trying to make a double here. She wants to
not at all. Just get rid of that one.
Lots of weight.
Yeah. See, that seems to be a little bit better weight than what we saw last end, and she's hitting almost all of it and still rolling out. Yeah. So that's the key with that on those weights just that we didn't see. Yeah. We didn't see that last end or last time that she was trying those. It just.
Samantha's indicating for Julia Hunter to replace that.
Rinse, repeat.
You wouldn't change the turn on this, Jeremy?
Nope.
No.
No. Where all you care about is. Well, you don't really. I mean, they're going to be peeling no matter what. So as long as it's a guard, it's peel. It's another guard. It's a peel, and then a tap to the tee line, and hope Sarah misses her double. So the strategy doesn't change. It's pretty straightforward. And even if they're not guarding this blue one, I would still suspect that Sarah will now.
the weight's off this a little bit. Wow.
That really, really, really did not curl consistent to what we've seen. Little weight. I think it's just she just had 10 feet less or 12 feet less. That makes a big difference. But.
Yeah, because they brushed that all the way.
So now Sarah will get rid of this one. She'd like to stick around. She doesn't have to. She's up one, so it gives a little bit less worry about keeping a rock around. But if ever she could outcount this one in the back 12, she'd be more than happy to not have to deal with looking at 2 or 3 on our last. But the ultimate goal.
Jane got down on that right away. Nice weight. That's the more consistent weight.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. See that
behind cover. Partial.
That's a great rock to leave around because now the freeze, if ever they make a perfect freeze, you blast them. That rock is the counter. So you're not risking losing the game by playing something. You've got a better chance at winning. So great shot there by Carol.
So the first of Samantha Crook skips rocks here in the 10th end. She is going to be attempting the freeze, and she'd want to be tight to that shot rock, I take it.
If she can sit right on it, hope Sarah gets rid of both of them, and then she'll maybe play a little come around her on this corner guard or the one top 8 is the goal. So Samantha's had some tough looks today, but I suspect that she'll be very, very close on this one.
We're back into that facing 2.
Yeah, it seems to be the way, but she's been keeping. And I mean, they've been relatively easy shots against 2, but no shots against 2 are ever that simple. So she's had a great game.
They're calling to. They've been brushing it right along.
This looks,
she's got nice weight.
Looks very, very close. Nice shot.
All right.
Shot rock, make Sarah deal with it, and there's a risk of a jam there, obviously. So Sarah will decide what turn she wants to throw. I suspect she'll throw the in turn similar to Carol and hope for the same result.
We were talking about that earlier. Why change the formula?
I mean, without risking it, the ultimate shot here would be to nose, and then you get rid of the back yellow one as well. It's not helping you any by being there. So if you can, take a little bit of a gamble and nose your shooter's ahead of the tee line.
Right on.
So, but the only goal here is to get rid of that blue. So, however she has to do it, or however she chooses to do it, is that's the key.
All right, so the first of Sarah Mallais' rocks here in the 10th end, skips rocks. The girls jumped on that right away.
She's got a lot more weight than Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're just playing the straight pick, which is fine.
A little bit of a roll.
Yep. They could have been a little bit more patient on that, I think, but in this situation, you don't want to be playing it cute.
They did jump it, but you're right. She was up a little bit. Okay, so Samantha, her last rock of the game.
Potentially.
Of the 10th end, yeah.
I'd say hopefully, but I'm not allowed to.
What is she?
So she's got two options. She's got the option of playing the exact same freeze, or you can try to tuck a piece around the one top 8. It looks based on that ice that they might be playing the come around.
Yes, because that's considerably less ice than what she took on the first one, yeah.
I personally like the freeze again. She just threw it. She knows the weight, knows the line.
And she was close.
And she's very close. You only need 2 more feet. So you make that perfect freeze. Sarah's got to throw some serious weight to try to get rid of it. So they do have a timeout here. I wouldn't be surprised if... no, they don't. That's right. They've used both their timeouts.
Crook has used both of hers.
That's
and I
right.
think
Sarah hasn't, but they don't have...
Sarah still has 2 left, yeah.
They have lots of time, though. They have 9 minutes to discuss. I suspect that the front end might be seeing something a little different. Both shots are right if you make them. You make the come around the one top 8, and it forces Sarah to change her shot. You throw the freeze, Sarah has the exact same shot, just maybe a little bit more difficult. So no wrong answer. It's whichever one you're going to make, and Sarah's going to have to make something regardless. So,
and with some discussion taking place down there, if they're at all considering changing, I would suggest that Samantha, as you say, they have plenty of time to come back down and revisit with Julia.
Yeah, I would say...
rather than changing the shot in the hack.
Even if you're not changing the shot, it's almost a point where they've had that discussion. But maybe that dynamic works for this team too, right? So it's... I'm not one who wants to chat when I'm in the hack, and some people just love it.
So here we go. The last of Samantha Crook's skips rocks here in the 10th end.
She's got more weight for sure, but she might be able to hit the back one, the back 8, or back 4. So it looks like they're going to the audible shot here. Julia picked up on that right away.
And you know what? That's finishing up nicely now, Jared.
It sure is.
With the less broom.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. So now again, Sarah has a decision. Either you try to blast it out, or you try to sit right on the nose of it.
You've got to move that. That is dead stuck on.
Yeah, that is frozen. So, I mean, you only need to move it out of the 8 foot, mind you, and there's no risk of losing the game here. So, so you've got little risk to throw it hard if you want.
And I guess Sarah could hit it on the nose and mission accomplished.
Exactly.
As well,
so based on that ice, it really could be either. I have a feeling she might be playing control weight and trying to nose it. If I had to, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Great shot by Samantha. Sometimes the audibles are better options, and again, both were great shots, and it was a great call by Julia to alter that right away.
Yeah, that's again where you have to pick up with the occasion as it presents itself. So, all right, so the last of Skip's rocks here for Sarah Mallais here in the 10th end. facing one blue stone of Samantha Crook.
So Sarah said
Here we
she just
go.
indicated she's throwing a 9.5, so a normal weight hit. So I think she might try to be moving that back blue one.
They're not laying a brush to it. Here they go now.
That is curling a lot.
May not stick
I
around.
think we'll be going to an extra end.
Yep. All right, so a steal of one for Samantha Crook here in the 10th end. Game's all tied up at 5 apiece.
And again, that seemed like a situation where Sarah might have wanted to get up and reset, where they were talking a little bit about the weight in the hack.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably would have been a good option here. So I think we'll have about a minute or three? 3 minutes. 3 minutes between the 10th and the extra.
Okay.
I'm on overtime now. Yeah. Geez, that's not good. I thought you get up early. No such luck, George. Yeah, quick one. So it works pretty good, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
This machine. What is that? Oh, right, yeah. That's right. Oh, yeah. Wow. 4 minutes and a half, right? Yeah. That was the perfect freeze over there. Oh, jeez. You couldn't have walked down and put it there any better. Taking it out, I think. This game's 22. Wow. Believe you're gonna be a nice friend, too. Good game, too. Well, no, you're not. So yeah, this is your last name. Right. Good game side. Hold on. Yeah. I don't know.
She was heavy.
Stop watching. Heavy for a drop. Heavy for the draw. Okay. Your noise maker was there.
All right, and we are back at it in this extra end on sheet 9 in the fourth draw of the 2018 Scotties Tournament of Hearts for New Brunswick. While we were away, Team Como actually stole 2 in the 9th end on their sheet to tie up the game 7-7 going into the last. Sylvie was a little heavy on a draw against 2, I guess. So a little bit of interesting happenings here. So tie game coming on sheet 9 and 7. We're a whole end ahead and starting at the exact same time. So both games will finish around the same time. So we'll keep you updated as we go.
So reverting back, Jeremy Samantha has asked for the center guard, which she received.
Yep. And so both teams in this extra end have 4.5 minutes plus a 90-second timeout. So 4.5 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but again, it's only the thinking time. It's not the time while the rocks are traveling. So plenty of time for this extra end. And
The clock starts once it's released, is that correct?
once the rock stops. So once this yellow rock stops, Crook's time will start.
Okay.
And then once they get past the tee line as they're throwing, the time stops. So it's a bit different, but 4.5 minutes in a game in an extra end where the shots are relatively simple. You can play out one of these ends knowing that it's a guard, it's come around, it's a guard, it's a hit, it's a peel. So lots of peels, lots of guards going to be thrown up here for sure.
Okay, so being requested to go in.
Yeah, Kayla looks like she's curling a lot late, so a little bit of an overlap.
Again, Sarah cannot touch those two blue ones.
No, she is happy with the way
Or
that they're
not
set
take
up.
them
It's an
out. I
easy,
guess she could touch them if she wanted. but
it's
she
a
won't
relatively
take them out.
easy double peel right now, so
Yeah.
she won't want to touch them. Asking Jane to come around the out-turn side, and again, key is to keep it in front of the tee line, but in the house. Guards aren't going to help them, and neither are back rocks in the back of the ring. So
The girls are brushing this. They're getting some.
line looks a
Some
little
movement.
bit tight for sure. So and it looks light.
We haven't played a whole lot coming this way, so
No.
yeah, a little late.
A little light, a little tight, but if she can roll off. Yeah,
Well,
not
the-
ideal. The weight was pretty close, actually.
Yeah.
Just seemed to have curled a little bit more than they expected.
All right, so again, they're debating on which way they.
Oof, that's a. I think we'll see Molly throw the out turn here for her, or sorry, the in turn for her. The front end was talking about throwing the out turn
Right,
through the hole,
right.
but that hole is tricky, and even if you get through it, I think you're still going to hit the one on the top 8. So this seems to be a little bit of an easier way, and regardless of what happens here, we'll see Sarah's team playing
Start
the
to
peels on the
clean
blues
up,
for
yeah.
sure. So Sarah's goal is to keep herself an open shot for the win, and Molly's or Samantha's is obviously to junk it up a little bit more than Sarah's plan.
Now they're not brushing this much, Jer.
No, but once it curls, it should come off. But it's just sometimes it doesn't catch the curl if you go out far enough, right?
That's right. And although it is finishing nicely, but okay. So do you bother with the one in, or do you go do the house cleaning at the top?
Peel the corner or the centers, or the one in the house. Yeah, this is. I mean, in theory, this sounds great, but at the end of the day, the only two rocks that are hurting you right now are the ones in the top, in the outside of the rings.
Outside of the rings, yeah.
You hit and roll out on this, and you're in trouble. But it looks like they're pretty close. You make it good, and then you're really in a great spot. So,
So
it's a bit
they've
more of a
gotten off
risk.
it,
That's
they've
all.
gotten off it, and they're going to get a nice finish here. Yeah, well done.
So, good shot, but it just allows Samantha taps that back 2 feet, and then they're still chasing. So,
Yeah.
the I think the right call. And
Would have been
I'm
the
using
take
air
the-
quotes here. The right call, but
Yeah.
would have been the double peel for sure.
So Samantha indicated backline weight, as you say, just to
I
tap
don't even
it.
think she'd want to move it that far, right? You want to keep that yellow's only going to help you.
Yeah.
So they're using their one timeout that they have already. It's a bit of a big decision here for both teams. I guess Sarah and her team are going to have to decide, because if ever you're set up well enough, you can guard. You saw that a little bit last night. I guess it was the other way around, but like with the amount of guards that Jen Armstrong had in play, if ever Justine had a good rock in there, maybe she started guard. She
Right.
would have started guarding.
Right.
So it's kind of a bit of a decision, but I still think you'll see a double peel
At some point.
at some point.
The options, as we say, for Crook. Well, the tap back was what was indicated.
I think
and
that's
then-
the right
and
call.
then maybe the teammates were saying, well, let's have a chat, because
Well, it seemed like it was a discussion maybe a little bit about weight. I mean, you could throw the in turn and try to tap that one top 8 to the back 8 as well. That would set up a little bit more of a pocket. It's a harder shot, I think, if we're looking at it, because it is almost completely buried, that one top 8. So I think we'll see them play that out turn. I think that's the right call, and maybe tap it back even just a foot or 2 and try to sit right on the top 4.
that is a bit of a tricky area of the ice, and tricky in the sense that you ride the 4-foot line, you could make contact with the yellow. If it tends to move on you, then you're rubbing onto yours. So
Yeah.
it'd be a tricky shot here.
So we'll see Julia and Samantha both go up and discuss the angles and the potential.
Oh,
Wow. No, there's no way.
It seems as though they're talking about a bit of a run back here.
John's message might have been that Sarah's set up too good, but I don't see that. I don't see that being the shot. Maybe they're talking about what Sarah can do with it. Let's see here.
Okay, so we're
Okay, so they are playing the tap back. I think they're talking about what if Sarah were to play the double peel, where would it end up?
yeah, maybe that was the discussion for sure.
Oh, good. Okay.
All right, so time's in, and
Molly Ward is asked to play the little tap back to about the back four and try to move that yellow one off the button. Liam played a great shot, but it still is a rock and play that Sarah's team does not necessarily need. This one's curling a little bit earlier than they expected, I think, but it's they're holding it out nice.
The sweepers held it out.
I think it's more weight than they expected.
Yes, that's
a fair
the case.
bit more weight.
Yeah, because it's gonna roll to the wings.
Right
and,
yeah.
Actually, it rolled out.
Rolled way out. Yeah, so that's probably, and actually the back yellow stayed in, which is interesting. So just more weight than they
Now,
expected.
do you still not go for the
Peel.
double peel? Yeah.
So I bet you that's probably part of their discussion that they had during their meeting. So the timeout benefited Crook, but it probably also benefited Team Mallais in the fact that they kind of said,
their options. Yeah.
let's look at this a little bit more and say, what does the other team want us to do? And I think that answer to that is keep the center guards. So Leah should be able to get rid of both if she gets rid of one.
They jumped on that right away, Jer. So
Yeah, Leah throws a little bit less weight than some on her peels, so I think she should be able to get them both. And even if she hits that one in the house, that's great. So Jane will try to get that one out. That's a great shot.
so the front end is opened up. I'm sure we're going to be talking guards again.
Yep, same thing. And then Samantha will probably hit that one on the top 8 on her last one and hope, make Sarah hit against 2. So, there's always a little bit of extra pressure when you're having to hit against the loss. So that one that's in the 12 foot on the far right is a bit of a saver for Team Crook right now. I assume Sarah might try to peel into that rock if she can, and get rid of it that way as a safe way of doing it.
So the first of Julia Hunter's mates rocks here in the extra end. So again, we're gonna attempt the peel.
Yeah, I'm thinking she might throw the intern here, but Carol looks happy.
Let the rock curl across it.
No, I just think you throw this is just a bit scary if ever it over curls and you're going to run it back into your own, right? But it seems like she threw it well.
There's lots of weight. She might get the double, or she get anything. Wow.
Okay, mission accomplished.
Okay.
Moves it off the center, barely, but.
She upped that weight again, huh?
But I think it's also very scary to the fact that she's had a couple over curl on her
Yes.
outturn, where if she does in that case, she's going to hit the one in the house. So it's a bit of a mind game in that sense. I think if you throw the intern there, you're never worried about anything. It's just going to be a straight peel. So that's easy to say, but I don't know how comfortable they are with certain turns out there. If there's a little bit of spots that might curl a little bit more. So
Julie's been asked to replace that guard.
this one looks a bit lighter than the first one.
Which is what happened coming this way too.
But they seem pretty happy with it.
No, I think they're brushing that pretty well, and she gave it to the brushers. And
so with how high that is, Sarah has a bit of a decision to make herself, because even if they get one perfectly behind it, you can always get to it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even if you make it perfect on the button right now, an out-turn back line weight should be able to take it out. So you could potentially ignore it and make one better, but obviously that's not happening, and there's not a wrong call not to.
So it looks like they'll remove this, and
now she's got to watch the blues on the side. Oof.
Wow.
A little scary there, but that's good. So Samantha will hit on this one.
And we're down to Skip's Rocks, Jeremy, on ice 7. The first of, I guess it's Camo's last rock here in the 10th end. She is lying 1, and she's drawing, I believe, to the 4 foot.
Yeah, she's going to try to bury around a high guard on the 4 foot line. She is lying 1 right now, so again, I think it's one of the situations where you're okay with her hitting against 2, hoping that maybe she rolls out.
And back to our sheet, we've got,
Also, they changed up the call. They're not hitting anymore.
this is the first of Samantha's.
Yeah, so they're actually going to play the guard again. They talked about playing the hit and roll behind the corner guard.
Right.
No wrong call, but they obviously felt like the best option is to throw up another guard, hope Sarah misses the peel, and then hit on the second one.
Are they guarding or freezing?
Oh, they're playing the freeze.
here?
Okay.
Yeah. I just thought with that release that maybe it was more of a... And she's coming in nicely with that shot, too. Right on it. She's had that nice draw weight.
It's a great shot. Yeah, that's pretty well frozen. That's a phenomenal shot. So Sarah's going to try to get to shot number 2, and if ever she promotes that blue one, it's not going to matter. So, you know, a bit of a discussion here to be had, but I think you need to be number 2 here. You absolutely need to.
So the shot rock is what? Is it 4 foot?
It's
Not
4
quite.
Yeah, so it's just
Yeah,
biting
just
the 4.
biting the 4. So
And an update on sheet 7, Sylvie has a draw to the just bite the 4 with a little bit of backing for the win. So we'll update you on that one.
Facing 2. Right?
Facing 2, yep. An tie game in the 10th then. So big game over there again. Both teams are at 2 and 2, or 2 and 1. So one team will move to 3 and 1, and one will move to 2 and 2. So
Yep.
bit of a discussion here on our sheet. We've got they've got just under 2 minutes left, so they got lots of time for the next 2 throws.
Jeremy, you'd never come and bump the
You
blue.
could move it, but I still think you're going to leave an easy double. I would be drawing
Right.
to the side.
So the last rock on sheet 7 here in the 10th end.
It's got a lot of weight, but I think they seem pretty happy with the line.
They're off and on it.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. So the win for Sylvie, 8-7. Make that the final on sheet 7. Robichaud over Como. So Robichaud moves to 3 and 1, and Como is at 2 and 2. All right, so the first of Sarah Mallais stones here in the extra end.
So she's elected to draw second shot on the
She
T
wants
line.
to be T-line, yeah.
Yeah,
On the open
biting
side.
the 4 would be perfect.
Okay. So leave it to the sweepers, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's got to. Samantha really put them in a tough spot by making that great shot. So I think the sweepers probably have to go on this one.
They've started on that right away.
Yeah, it looks pretty good though.
You're going to get some movement here as soon as it gets to the center line. Here we go.
Well, they might have overswept it a little bit, but it looks like it's pretty good. If that's still in the 4, then it really makes Samantha change her decision here. So
Wide T-line weight.
it's a great shot.
Wow. Okay.
So now she's gonna have to play a hit and roll, right? Because if that's yeah, that's a hard shot. That was good.
Now she's made these
Freezes
very well.
Last
So
few ends.
I would think she'd try that again, wouldn't you?
I think that's the only issue with it. That is that even if you're frozen, like if you're not dead frozen on the nose, which is hard to get shot, you're on the inside. A nose hit gets.
Oh
rid of
no,
both.
for sure.
So I might even elect playing a little come around maybe, or a hit and roll in. But that shot by Sarah was, as easy as it was just a T-line shot. It's a big one because it really changed and almost neglected the shot that Samantha made on her first one.
So yes, exactly. Which is
Yeah. So she is playing the freeze, trying to get to the inside and make Sarah throw some weight, because we've seen when people start throwing weight, it's not working out. Not working all that great. So
here we go. The last of the Samantha Crook rocks here in the extra end. Without hammer.
Much wider line than Sarah's, but
Facing
we're seeing
2. She
we've
has
seen
a
hers
different
curl
release.
a little bit more
She has a different release.
than
So
Sarah's. So
they're not touching it, Jeremy.
Sweepers-
And it's going to start to move here, I would think.
Supers like it now, but that really is coming off. The weight is coming off that big time. But no, they left it just too long, I think. So no, there you go. Game over.
All right.
What a great game.
In this extra end, we have Sarah Mallais scoring 2 to make the final 7-5. And Mallais moves to 3-1, and Crook goes to 1-3.
1-3. Yep, exactly. So that's a big win for Sarah, obviously. Kind of almost, I think 2 losses will guarantee you a spot, at least in a tiebreaker. So both Armstrong, Robichaud, and Sarah should have a shot at least at a tiebreaker. And obviously Como, with 2 losses already, will try to sneak into that pack. But I think that does eliminate Crook and Tatlock from play.
So the last round-robin game will be held here at Carl Moncton at 2:30. We have Tatlock playing Crook, Como playing Mallais, and Armstrong playing Robichaud. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeremy. It's been a pleasure.
Good.
And maybe we'll do it again sometime.
We'll see.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.